I don't know how to get this thing live. All right, I somehow have this thing live, but I don't know how to share it with you people. So let me figure this out. Oh, Jeremy's helping. Oh. All right, if I can figure out how to do this. We'll see how it works. All right, so now the bigger problem is I don't know how to get it what I need it to be. I have way too many things open. So maybe we will move things around. I guess this has to be in its own window. All right, so I haven't even logged on to see how the first part of the draft has gone so far. I'm just now doing that. It took me way too long to figure out how to get this live because Jeremy changed the passwords. The IT guy who locked himself out of his computer last week essentially locked me out of everything this week. But I got the site up here. There have been a couple trades. We can go over those because I think some of those are hefty prices, establishing, trade value in a league that is very hard to figure out what certain pieces are worth. I think I've had a handful of people this week ask me, specifically for this league, what do you think, the 101's worth, or 105, or how many picks do you think I need to move to actually move up in a draft? So it looks like we've got 2 trades accepted in a matter of the last 10 minutes. The first is between the Washington Redskins and the Atlanta Falcons. Washington gave up, I'm not even going to pronounce this guy's name, I'm going to butcher it, but I think it's Yannick something rather, defense end Jacksonville, who should be actually relatively low price. Yeah, $3.1 million for a defensive end is pretty good considering what they went for in the auction. And he actually is a top scorer, 182 points. So that's a really good, probably one of the better contracts on Washington would be my guess, because that's the type of player you would need to take on in this sort of deal. Also involved in the deal is the 2018 117, 2018 217, 417, 517, and a future first from Washington to move up to the 104, and they also get the 229 overall pick in 2018. So I don't know. That's the fallback 13 spots he picked up. He being Falcons, that is a better second round pick, a bump there, a fourth round pick, a fifth round pick, a future first, and a top defensive end. I like it. It's interesting. We'll see. He has some other picks. I haven't looked to see what he's picked yet. I would assume he went quarterback. I hope he went quarterback at 102 then, because it's kind of part of his plan. I don't know what other picks he has, so I got to switch over to the draft screen, and we'll figure out what he's doing early in the 2018 rookie draft for NFL GMs. The other trade also involves Falcons, and it's with Minnesota. So Minnesota gave up 105. Falcons gave up 130, 131, a 2019 one from my Pittsburgh Steelers, and a 2019 one from Tampa. So that might be – I don't know if my team's going to be good this year, so I don't know what that 2019 first on my side is. But I think Tampa's decent, so that might be a late 2019 first there. So we're looking at 3 late first-round picks and whatever mine is, maybe middle to late for the 105. It's interesting. Vikings roster is in a real tough spot. I don't know if there's not very many good contracts on that team. There are not very many good players. So you're looking. I would imagine he's hoping that somebody falls to him. At 105, though, that basically he could have had his franchise quarterback, lock him up on a relatively cheap deal. I think it's about a $5 million deal, 4 years for a quarterback, unless he didn't think one was going to fall to him. But I think I saw Saquon go for 101, so that means he at least would have had his shot at one of the top 4 quarterbacks. But again, if you're not high on Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, the 105 might not be the best spot to be in. So interesting deal. I think it gives us, I guess, an idea of what Falcons is doing here. So I'm assuming he went quarterback at 102, and now at 105, he's going to go ahead and grab what I would assume be best available running back. But we'll see. I'll switch over to the draft here and see what we've got going on. If my stupid computer would work here. I think Buffalo Bills is going to be joining me at some point, hopefully within the hour. And I think we'll get the Vikings on here as well. I'm going to check my messages from those guys real quick and see if I have anything from them. I don't know what that means. Jeremy sends me all these fucking messages. Don't forget to share the Google Hangout link or nobody can join you. Don't know what that is, so I'll have to figure out what that is from Jeremy so that my guests within the next, hopefully, hour can get on here. Mike's going to be on in about, it looks like 40 minutes. Eric's going to be a while, so we'll see if we get Eric on here, Minnesota on here before we close out and see, get his thoughts on his deal that he made and see if he has any type of idea of what he'd like to do. I think we can get Atlanta on here too. I'm gonna see what time I can get him on here. Again, this is going live, so you can follow along on YouTube. I'll also upload it later, so you can listen. You won't be able to see my pretty face, but you'll be able to follow along with us here and kind of listen to what goes on. So to the draft we go. There's so many tabs on here. We've got 2 picks so far. And like I said, Falcons, made the move at quarterback at 102, like I figured he would. 101, the Eagles took Saquon Barkley. So we have 103, the LA Chargers on the clock. I have to look at Matt Stevens, see what he's maybe thinking here. But Matt's going to be a guy that's going to be picking at the top of the rookie drafts for a long time. So I'm not sure it matters what he's doing. Yeah, so he needs to go running back. He doesn't have one. And I kind of think that's how the first – I don't know if it's going to even be 10 picks, but that first top part of the draft is going to be all quarterback and all running back. I don't think it can go any other way. The value, points per money spent there for the quarterback position and running back position is way too high to take another position. So I'm gonna see if I can find out where this damn link is that I need to share to get my guests on here. Jeremy's teaching apparently, but spend more time helping me out, so that's good. I also accidentally called his house phone because I couldn't get on to the YouTube site, and the recovery number for whatever reason was his freaking house phone number. So I hit call as a joke, and it called his house. So that was weird. And then I sent a text message, and it went to his house, and it bounced back. So then I realized it was his house number. But anyways, in Google Hangouts, there's a button somewhere. All right, so we'll see if there's a button. I don't really know what that means. Oh, here we go. So I found it. This is quality investigative work here by myself with the help of Jeremy. We're going to get Atlanta Falcons on here in the next couple minutes. He's going to hop on, talk his deals, and his pick of Josh Rosen, who I think is probably the safest pick at 102. I thought maybe the Eagles would take a quarterback, but in the auction they spent $12.5 million on Eli Rogers, and that kind of kills that for them, because three quarterbacks that are all going to be starters is just that's too much capital invested in a position. But anyways, so he has Eli Rogers or Eli Manning, whoever his other quarterback is, goes to Saquon Barkley, which I think most Superflex rankings, that's the easy thing to do. With this not being Superflex, it doesn't really matter. But I would say the importance of quarterback here is on par with that of a Superflex league. So I think early on, like I started to say, we'll stick to maybe a Superflex type of top part of a draft here. I would expect those 4 or 5 quarterbacks. So Rosen, Allen, Darnold, Lamar Jackson. Is there somebody else I'm missing? Whoever else I'm missing will go in the first couple picks. And then I think it'll all be in that order. Barkley, not in this order, but Barkley, Chubb, Michelle, Penny. I don't know if I said Chubb, but all of those guys, I would assume very much like the first, top 10 or 12 picks in a super flex. I think they're all going to come off the board. I don't think we'll see a wide receiver until later on. I was mocking, I think possibly the Giants. I could be wrong, but we'll go through that. I'll sort through a couple of these teams. Now that I've got everything, I believe, set up, I've got invites out to the guests that will be hopping on here. We should be in a good place, so now I can get back to talking about the Chargers and his shitty team. So he has Mahomes at quarterback, $17.8 million. He's got Mike Glennon. I don't see another one on his taxi, so there's always a possibility that he could see the value in quarterback and take the quarterback. But with his only running backs being Austin Eckler and Chris Thompson of Washington, I think this pick of Darius Geis here makes too much sense. That way he's at least got backfield in Washington taken care of, and he also will have fantasy points from the running back position. Chris Thompson had 155, almost 156 points last year. Missed some time due to injury. You put Geis in there, who, even though he fell in the draft, I think is still standard, across all boards, the 102. So I think that pick makes a little too much sense here, and I don't know why he needs the 12-hour clock or whatever he's doing driving home to send that pick in. Wide receiver, again, it doesn't make sense on this team, and I said there's a team later on that I think will take a stab at a wide receiver, but I don't think it's going to be Chargers. From the rest of the team standpoint, he's set at linebacker. I think linebacker will be the first IDP position taken here, so I don't see or foresee a linebacker. So I think that pick is going to be a running back, and I don't know who's in here. Brian. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Mute.
There you go. All right, so Brian's here, Atlanta Falcons. We'll talk about his selection, a couple of his trades here in a second. But right now, I was kind of projecting where I thought the LA Chargers were going to go. I don't know if you've looked too far down the board. I'd imagine you did for some point when you had 104. I don't know what other early picks you have, but you do now have 105. So I'd imagine you're still kind of watching or projecting these couple picks in front of your next selection. Did you mock out the first couple picks of the draft?
I've done like preliminary checks in with some of the people above me in terms of what they think. Most of it's just looking at their team composition and thinking about it, but I'm more now going to be looking at where 17 is and how the people in that 11 to 16 range can operate. Since I made that trade.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. I want to flip my damn screen. I used to be able to know how to do this. All right, so I'm going to flip my screen here, and we're going to take, for those that are following along, yes. Bingo. All right, so this is the Chargers team currently as it sits. Like I said, you can see he does have his quarterback. He does have a good amount of wide receivers. The defense is not that it's solid, but I don't think the end is a pick here where you can look at that too early. It's my damn cat. Corner's good. Linebacker's pretty set with Bobby Wagner, and he picked up Luke Kuechly, which we could talk about in a little bit. I think he picked up Bobby Wagner too, if I recall. So we can talk about that trade a little bit later because I think that set him up nicely for what he's doing here. But I project this pick to be Darius Geis. Does that make sense to you there?
Yeah, I think you could go with any of the running backs, and it probably just makes sense. I don't think you can really go wrong with any of them in this.
Well, he has Chris Thompson, which is why Washington. Which is why I kind of, if you had to pick one, I would assume it'd be Geis.
Yeah, I didn't see Chris Thompson. Yeah, that makes more sense then at that point.
Yeah, so that's what I think there is going to happen there. I don't know what I just did. So we'll see if my lovely face comes back up. If not, there it goes. So that's where I see the 103 going. We can look at 104. But first, I want to hop back because I did talk about very briefly, your 102 selection of Josh Rosen. I said that I believe that he's the safest of the quarterback picks there at 102. I think he has the most potential of the quarterbacks outside of fantasy potential. It's obviously Lamar Jackson because he has the running ability, but like career potential, best player, best quarterback taken in the draft, I think it's Josh Rosen. So I like that pick for you very much. You do have Keenum there, so even if it takes Rosen, a year or whatever to take over that offense, you're in pretty good shape there, especially at the price. I haven't uploaded the price yet, but I think that's a steal for you at 102.
Yeah, in other formats, of course, I've pushed Lamar Jackson up my board just because of how dynamic he is for a lot of the NFL game. He's just he's better than Michael Vick was at passing at my viewpoint. And he's just as good of a runner. So I think that just kind of makes a great skill set for him. But in terms of our format, for how much margin of error you can really go with, if he gets beat up or something along those lines, or he flames out after 5 years because of how much abuse he gets, or he doesn't develop, it just felt safer to take Rosen. And same with like Mayfield. I think Mayfield's got maybe a higher ceiling just for how much gusto he brings. He just seems to exude confidence and could but the tools around him at Cleveland at the moment could be just really special. But that coaching staff scares the shit out of me, where I don't trust Hugh Jackson to develop a quarterback at all. So I'd rather take Rosen's situation. Plus, Rosen is such a competitor from my perspective. I think he has a chip on his shoulder, and so I just really like that from his standpoint, and just made it easier of a pick for me.
Oh, Jeremy's commenting on my tabs, bastard. So yeah, I'm building a website. Anyways, yeah, right on with Lamar Jackson. I think fantasy points, most potential there. I want to see where some teams are in the draft right now, because I know there are a couple teams that have gone almost all in on Lamar Jackson, because this will be now the third rookie draft, or fourth rookie draft that I've had thus far this year, and there's been a common denominator in what teams have ended up with certain players. So I was looking to see if somebody was in the first couple picks here to grab Lamar Jackson, but they're a little farther down, but they might be able to grab him, so we'll see how that goes. I'm not going to spoil that for that team just yet, but those that play in those leagues could probably figure out what I'm talking about. And then, yeah, Baker Mayfield, I'm not as big on him as other people. Certainly, he's not my number one quarterback. It seems to be a lot of people's, just because he was a 101. I'd be interested, if he wasn't taking 101, so if he's taking whatever that was to the Jets, 103, or if he falls a little bit, is he your quarterback one still? And I don't think that would necessarily that he would. And so that's kind of the fault that I've found in people's ranking of him. He's my actual, I prefer Rosen, Sam Darnold. Who's the guy that I'm missing? Who is the other quarterback? Motherfucker, my cat. There's another quarter.
You mean
fucking just took a chunk out of my fucking hand.
You mean Josh Allen?
Yeah, so Josh Allen I prefer as well. So I actually have.
You were like the first person I've ever heard in draft Twitter, and analysts say that they prefer Josh Allen over Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I do. And here's why. I like Tyrod Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cleveland's win projection in Vegas is 4. I think they're going to get more than 4 wins. I would imagine that with the players that they do have now, that those players are actually going to try to win, because I do think that Cleveland was throwing games for a while, for the last 2-3 years.
Was it throwing games, or they didn't want to play for Hugh because he's a garbage coach?
I would imagine that it's throwing games, because some of those, you don't draft a rookie quarterback, play him, yank him the first time he has trouble, put in somebody else, take that person out, put in a different one, and then go back to the rookie that you originally. That's throwing games. And that also F's up Deshaun Kaiser and whoever else was screwed there along the way. So for those, some of the same reasons you said with the coaching and whatnot, I don't know if they're going to be a franchise that's going to be able to develop a quarterback. That's why I like the Tyrod Taylor move. And I don't think, people are like, oh, if they miss on Baker Mayfield, they're going to be set back 5 years. No, they're not. They now have pieces in place where they can just go out and sign a quarterback. A quarterback will want to come there and play with Jarvis Landry and Josh Gordon, the other kid, Coleman. They just now drafted Callaway. They got Njoku, Chubb, and if they keep Hyde, a veteran quarterback will now want to come and play on that team, which I think keeps them from, going into a hole. So I think they'll be a much better team. I'm not sure. Baker Mayfield, I don't think is going to start right out of the gate. He shouldn't start right out of the gate. And I'd have to look to see when the Browns bye week is. But if Cleveland's winning games, I don't think there's how you can move on to a rookie quarterback that quickly. I just don't see that happening. And so because of that, it's just a fantasy thing, because he won't play right away. His fantasy value will go down. A guy like Allen, who really only has, Peterman and AJ, like he's going to win out. I would imagine he's going to beat those guys out. So giving him a quicker route to the NFL to starting is going to boost his value. And I was talking on Reddit with somebody about this. You go back to the guys last year. You look at what happens to the values of Deshaun Watson and who's the quarterback that didn't play? Patrick Mahomes. Watson gets out on the field, had the clearer path. He's the higher valued pick. He gets taken early, then gets on the field, and then his value just skyrocketed. I mean, to where he has to have. He easily has to be one of the top 4. Is he in the top 4? I don't know. I don't look at the rankings. I just kind of make my own shit up as I go. But I think
it's evident.
I would imagine that he's at least top 5. I would imagine he's top 4. I would imagine that he's up there with what would assumably be Rodgers, Wilson, Wentz, and Deshaun Watson. I would imagine that that's where he's at. And then Mahomes doesn't play, and Mahomes is your second quarterback taken, or third quarterback taken. Third quarterback taken, doesn't play. Not that his value decreased a ton, but you could definitely buy Mahomes way cheaper than what you could have otherwise. And so because of that roadblocks there, I just don't see Mayfield having that much value this year. Not to say that he won't have it next year, but it's just in that period where it takes him a while to build up what his value truly is. People will put him on the back burner. You should be able to buy him a lot more cheaply than, I don't know, wherever he gets drafted, a top 5, super flex pick or whatever, what have you. I think you can get a little value from him. Not knocking him, just fantasy value. I would think that it would make sense to take Allen ahead of Mayfield.
See, I disagree from the standpoint of Cleveland, in my opinion, has done a better job, even with a shit coach, has done a better job at putting tools around Mayfield to be better, even with a veteran quarterback. The Buffalo Bills have Zay Jones, who went on some insane issues. He's got some very deep-seated personal issues that he is going to have to work out before I think he's even a viable football receiver. And then Kelvin Benjamin's 28 and 400 pounds or something. So that's an extreme exaggeration. But even he's not a guy that you can rely on to feed your offense through. So it's pretty much now down to Charles Clay and LaShawn McCoy, who's 29. Yeah, and has a bunch of tread on his tires. So, I mean, Josh Allen's the prototypical quarterback, and if he can fix his accuracy issues, I'm sure he'll be fine. But I don't think they gave him any ability to do well right out of the gate. Just like the Browns last year didn't give DeShone Kizer really any tools to succeed either.
Yeah, they definitely didn't help him. But again, if he gets on the field, and we saw that with Trubisky. Trubisky got on the field, and not that his value skyrocketed from his play, but his value doesn't decrease either. And so he might be the Trubisky of this class, and where he gets on the field, he's not going to – I don't think he's going to put up godly numbers. I don't think he's going to have the most touchdowns, most passing yards of the rookie quarterbacks this year. But I think he's going to –
Oh, my God.
What happened?
Chargers just picked, and I figured you want to talk about that right away.
Is it Josh Allen?
Nope.
Is it – hey, it's Baker Mayfield. All right. So his comment is, this pick spot blows. and he did take Baker Mayfield, which I was reluctant to think he was going to be a quarterback, but I did make a comment that I think I said he was a really bad fantasy owner. His team would be really bad, but he could see the value in quarterback and take a quarterback, and so he does see that value and takes Baker Mayfield. I like the pick for the value. Don't get me wrong. I know I was just not really shitting on Mayfield, but he's my fourth quarterback.
The value is the only reason, and this is why I thought you would take it, it's purely value. I mean, Mahomes is a great candidate, but even if he had Mayfield, Mahomes even becomes expendable and try to get $17 million off your books where you could have a $5 million quarterback, and you would probably get a good haul because Mahomes is probably even one of the cheaper quarterbacks out there. I mean, that's a pretty good
yeah. So, and then the Redskins, I believe, do they have that pick pre-drafted? I don't know if that's pre-drafted or he just saw it and went with it instantly. That pick would have been, I would have projected, a quarterback to go there. I'd have had a different order. My quarterbacks are ranked Rosen, Darnold, whoever else, Allen, and then Mayfield. So I'd have flipped these maybe. So I wouldn't have thought that the Redskins would have gotten Darnold, but he's a huge Jets fan. So that pick there makes sense after Mayfield goes. I think that was a send it in. And so that puts you on the clock at 105. I want to talk real quick because Minnesota did have this pick until they traded out of it. I think this would be why they traded out of it. Had the Chargers gone running back, Redskins go quarterback, and then Vikings gets his choice of whoever's left over between the top three. Because I think that's now that's what's happening is it's Rosen, Mayfield, Darnold across the board, not me, just across the board. I think those three are the ones that people want to draft. The other two, Allen is the one that's like, okay, like I'm in a shit spot and I need a quarterback. I got to take Allen. And then Lamar Jackson is going to the person that's got the luxury pick that's like, I can sit on this dude and wait. And hopefully big things happen. And so my guess is Vikings didn't want to sit on that and wait. And he probably didn't like Josh Allen. So to get out of there, because if you somehow anyway you put it, if you project those three quarterbacks to go in those top 5 picks or in those top 4 picks, then at 5 he's really in a bad place. So the trade out of there for him probably looks better now than what it would have been had there been a Mayfield or a Darnold available at 105.
Well, I feel comfortable talking about this at this point because I didn't want to say anything while Ian hadn't picked yet. So me and Ian the last couple of days have been trying to work a deal for the 104. And I wasn't going to accept until I knew more so what was going to come of Matt, which I started probing him for the pick today for the 105 once I saw he was willing to shop it. So both of those, I accepted both of those trades simultaneously because they countered those. And so neither of them knew really what it was that the other was doing. So the Vikings must have assumed something was going to happen, but it probably would have been pretty hard to tell exactly what was going to happen in terms of trading down and then trading out and having Matt pick Mayfield. So...
Yeah. So, have you made your pick, or are we going to make people sit here and wait? Because I think that's what we should do. I think we should put up a poll in the league and see in the league chat and see if people want to guess what your pick's going to be.
Sure. I don't even know what my pick's going to be right now because I didn't expect Matt to take Mayfield.
Yeah, me neither. Like I said, I thought it was going to be Geis. I thought that was the no-brainer. But to pause and think about things, that value is truly in that quarterback. And I want to talk about the next couple of picks because I really thought there were some teams that needed a quarterback. I thought Bills at 110 were going to get possibly have a shot at a quarterback, but I now think that his decision is made for him. I think he's going to get a running back there. I'm trying to think if these other teams need a quarterback.
Just the Giants and maybe the Niners.
Um,
Giants
so
only have
we'll
Brady.
See. But other than that, I could see further down at 113. I don't want to give things away from people, but if one falls, I think the Raiders will be ecstatic down at 113. I don't know how active he is. I don't know if I think maybe he's got to come up a little bit. His only quarterbacks are Bridgewater, Cody Kessler, and Chad Kelly.
Well, he's got to be careful. He's got a crap ton of draft capital for this year. I forgot how much, and he should really, my opinion would be to consolidate it a little bit, not a lot, because his team needs still some work. But
right. He's got 132 and 202, which are practically the same pick. But somebody's going to like that 132 because they've got a first round pick. Mm-hmm. I'd pair that with his 113 and honestly see if he can jump up in this draft. I don't know if there's a team though that can afford to bounce out. Maybe I was say the Colts, but that's only one spot, and I don't think for sure see the Colts taking quarterback. But maybe at 110 with Eric, or 108 with the Giants, because I think the Giants team was solid. I think that they were close. I don't know what happened to them, but I think that the Raiders at 113 could benefit from a quarterback falling, but I'm not sure if we're going to see that actually happen. So you're on the clock, and I'll share with I don't know how many people or where the damn. I have too many screens open, so I'll share with people that are following what your roster is and what it looks like. And there we go, Atlanta Falcons. So we have Josh Rosen. Apparently, Jeremy went in and updated the contract. So you've got your Josh Rosen at $5.5 million for 4 years. Taking at 102, you have Case Keenum. You really don't have a running back. Spencer Ware is still on Kansas City, which is nice. The price is nice, but again, he's behind Hunt. Peyton Barber, we saw the Ronald Jones thing. So do we do? That's where I thought you were going to go. I thought it was going to be like a little bit of a stretch and go Ronald Jones, but that was before when I thought Darius Geis was going 102, and then you had already taken your quarterback, you weren't going to take another, and that you were just going to go to solidify a position.
I did think about taking a second quarterback for some point in time just because of the value of it. Taking Darnold or Mayfield. I wasn't going to take Jackson at that point, or Allen is probably even close to off my board personally. But I did think about taking two quarterbacks just from the standpoint I could afford a third on my roster. I just have to drop Kaya, and then I could just have, after a year or two of quarterback play, once Keenum's gone, trade the other one or whatever. But at this point, it's definitely a running back. I'm still haunted by that Des Bryant trade. I wish I never made that trade.
I know. I was going to send you an offer the other day, but then I realized that I have way too many Des Bryant shares, and at $17.5 million, I'm not taking that on.
Too much.
So I'll just recap real quick for those handful that are popping in and out following us. Our draft thus far has gone Barkley to the Eagles at 101, Rosen to the Falcons at 102, Mayfield to the Chargers at 103, Sam Darnold to the Redskins at 104, and we now have the Falcons on the clock at 105. So I'll see if I can – oh, here we go. Never mind. I was going to try to make a poll on the thing, but my computer froze. So we'll not deal with that. It's going to be a running back. Obviously, I think the rankings 102. You would say is Darius Geis. I don't. What did I just do? Oh, sorry. I played music somehow. I went through my headset. I do like Ronald Jones more than others. I think some people even push him down to like late first round, which is just in standard drafts, which is stupid. Um, I think Chubb's obviously a good option. Penny, if you want to take the second highest drafted running back, and then you got the New England Patriots, Sonny Michel. So you do have a handful of options. I think either way you dice it, it's going to be good. But did you? I mean, I know you had said that you talked about wanting to have or you had talked about possibly taking two quarterbacks because of value. I'm sure at some point you also were like, because I think when I talked to you at one point, I was like, one of those picks has to be a quarterback and one has to be a running back. I'm sure for a while now you've been stacking up your running backs and have already known who you're going to take here.
Well, it was kind of reserved to the fact of taking Chubb at 104 because I was thinking Matt was going to take Geis. But with the Mayfield pick, I'm not sure which one I value more. I like Chubb's overall talent more. I think he's a better running back. His injury history was a little precarious, but I think overall he's just a better running back. And then, but Geis is in a better situation in terms of he's the only one there for this first year. All he really has to do is compete with Chris Thompson, and I just don't think that eats enough into what Geis does. Plus, they tend to have a pretty good offensive line at Washington the last few years.
I did see some. So, one positive and one negative stat. That there was second running backs taken in the second round that were age 21. The hit rate is like phenomenal. The list of players is like Le'Veon Bell, Maurice Jones-Drew, Ray Rice, Joe Mixon. There's some other damn people on the list, but I can't remember. But it's just like a phenomenal list of running backs. Every single one of them is like like the dude. And so Geis fits that 21 second round pick. So he falls into that ridiculous category. But then there's also, if you look at the stats for a Jay Gruden running back, there's not a ton of fantasy points there. But I don't know if that's because that's the style of offense that he's run or if just his offense in general has had no feature running back. Because for as long as I remember, like, I don't think Alfred Morris was in Washington when he was there. And then you'd go, where the hell was he, their coordinator? He was at Cincinnati, and they had the Gio and Jeremy Hill split. So he hasn't really had a stud running back. He said for a while he wanted to get one. Now the question is just is Geis that stud running back that he was talking about getting. So it's interesting. So from a fantasy perspective, I'm trying to think of what the number is, but it's not a high number of fantasy points that he's had from his running back positions. But the record of that second round pick that's 21 years old is just freaky.
Yeah. And I like the way Geis plays. He plays maybe a little too violent for me from the standpoint of durability concerns, especially if the Redskins run him to any severity in a season. If once a running back gets over that like 275 touches a season, the next season they tend to have a pretty lackluster year or a pretty mediocre year. It's hard for them to get back up into that area based on historical trends. So it's something to think about because the pieces in Washington aren't nearly as interesting as the pieces in Cleveland, at least for me, offensively, skill position wise. Washington's got Paul Richardson. They have Josh Doxson. Jordan Reed, if you can call Jordan Reed playing anymore. And then they now have Alex Smith, who's can't stretch the field nearly to what Kirk Cousins could do a year ago. So I don't know. It's kind of a toss up for me at this point to think about. Sony Michel would be very interesting had he gone to. I just wish it would have been a better spot than New England from the standpoint of what they do to running backs there. Productive and great NFL running backs, but they just don't give you enough volume.
Well, do you think that you talked about the talent on the roster offensively for Cleveland compared to that of Washington? And I think we both would agree that Cleveland's got better players at this point. But as for fantasy, do you not think that bodes better for a player like Geis compared to Chubb, because there's less mouths to feed, there's less you're looking at Chubb's going to have Hyde and Duke Johnson, even though Duke Johnson's kind of used as a slot wide receiver. But you still have that competition there on top of if they're throwing the ball. But you could, it's just like a two-edged sword. I'm having a hard time. Do you want to give that, because he's going to be on a worse offensive team, he would touch the ball more. But if Washington's not winning games down the line, he's not going to be, getting the rock. Like Chubb could be getting the ball if Cleveland's winning games. So I think it's a weird balance between it. You don't want the team to be so loaded that your guy's not going to get the ball, but you do want the team to be good that when they're winning, that he's going to be the one that's going to run out the clock.
I guess my thinking is if they go with Tyrod hasn't really thrown a lot. He hasn't given you a lot of volume, and that could be from the standpoint that he wasn't utilized in a great manner.
Buffalo, no, terrible.
But he was great, and he was efficient fantasy-wise, and he was a pretty decent quarterback, enough to get you to where you needed to go. But, McDermott didn't use him well. The guys before him didn't use him well. And then I don't even know if Hugh will use him well. I don't think he can throw you 35, 40 times a game, and I don't think even Mayfield, if he were to play, would throw 30 to 40 times a game. He certainly could, a lot more than Tyrod could, but I don't think he would, just from the standpoint of being a rookie quarterback. They'd rather lean on Hyde and Chubb, from my thought. But you're right. If they are even near to league average in efficiency with how they disperse all their targets and touches on offense in Cleveland, you could be looking at a RB3 at a Chubb instead of maybe an RB2, or if Geis is really good in Washington, he could get up, sneaking up at that high RB2 area, just because he's got no real competition from there. So it's something to consider. Yeah, I'm not sure. They both spent roughly the same relative draft capital on both players. So Cleveland spent a high second and Washington spent a mid-second on them. So, they both value them relative enough that they invested enough capital to want to see them get touches. Just a matter of how much.
So while you make up your mind, I'm going to skip you. And looking at Detroit, which would be 106, the only quarterback on the roster is Jameis Winston. Winston's in a you got to prove it to me year, I think. At running back, his best option is Shane Vereen. I would imagine that he's following your pick closely, but also at wide receiver, he's got Antonio Brown, but other than that, Eric Decker's a free agent. Not sure he's going to get signed on anywhere. I didn't know Rashad Green was still in the league. Justin Hardy, I believe, got cut by Atlanta, and it's not updated yet. And Charles Johnson's in New York, which New York's wide receivers are terrible. I'm not sure that dude will see the field. But So definitely an offensive need there. It would just be a matter if he prioritizes running back, wide receiver. Again, I said that the priority, at least for the first 10, maybe even 15 picks, needs to be quarterback, running back strictly. So I would think that he's going to take a running back after you decide which running back you're going to need. Although he could, again, with only having the one quarterback, he could grab either Allen or Lamar Jackson, but I don't think he has the luxury of doing that. And he's not as patient at sucking as Matt is. Like, Matt will suck forever if he can just continually pick early in the draft. He will suck for as long as he possibly can. So I don't think Lions wants to suck for that long. So I think that he'll try to fill his holes.
Well, he was saying he was willing to trade out. So in the main chat, so I could see him trying to move down to either get some more value. It's just kind of the difficulty with this league. I'm noticing it's kind of why I gave up so much of the late firsts in the draft to move up, is just because not a lot of teams have multiple picks in a general area where you can get kind of recoup some of that value. If that makes any sense. So you kind of have to be aggressive or take some risks. That's the way I'm evaluating it, where I gave up four first-round picks to move up 30 spots, 25 spots, just because I think the disparity could be pretty high, especially in terms of any offensive players that might be at the end of the first round. I just think the first half to 2/3 of this draft are going to be mostly offensive-oriented players, and it's just hard to get any real value the further down you go.
Texting my sources. See who they think you're going to take. Yeah, so we'll see. I don't know. I'll check the chat, see if he's even in here. No, last night was me. So I don't know if Detroit's around. I think that he had talked about he was excited. He wasn't sure how this was going to go. I'd imagine he would have traded out if he probably had a couple, of his running backs go. I could see that. But with depending on who you pick, if Geis is still there for him at, what is he at, 106? Potentially getting outside of quarterback, the second best player in the draft at 106. I think that would be his pick. And I think he would be ecstatic for that. But I don't know. He's not one that I've talked a whole bunch to. He's not one of, I guess, he's one of my guys because he's in one of my leagues. But he's not one of the guys that I talk to regularly or is in multiple leagues with me to where I could, maybe predict a pattern or look at a pattern of picks from previous seasons, previous drafts, tendencies, positional tendencies, likes, dislikes, those things. So it's hard for me to kind of predict who he likes. But I would imagine that he'd be happy with Geis there, or any of the other guys. I don't know who he actually roots for in terms of teams, so I think that always plays into it a little bit. I know some people don't believe that, but again, case in point, the Redskins take Sam Darnold. He's a Jets fan. He takes the Jets quarterback. Had the Jets taken somebody else, I'd imagine, if they take Josh Allen, I would imagine that would have been his pick as well. Just the homer pick that you want to work out. So I don't know. Are you going to pick? Are you going to wait? Are you going to trade? What are you doing? What are you thinking? Got any offers?
No, I don't think I had any offers. I didn't see any come across my email, but I did just pick Geis.
Haha. I have no pending trades to review. So I don't know how to look to see if anybody's pre-drafted. I think it's because I'm in commission mode, and I think it lets me do whatever I fucking want from here, so it doesn't tell me what picks are locked in, so I can't project forward to see how things are going to go. But the Detroit Lions are on the clock, and again, 4:35. Falcons just took Darius Geis. It's a nice pick. I like it. He's a guy that I'm not quite sure what went on with him at the draft. I think that unknown factor of what the hell actually happened is why teams kind of shied away from him. But in terms of talent, I like him. I mean, I honestly, I have Leonard Fournette. I'd honestly would rather have Darius Geis, especially if I have Geis on. I don't know how quickly Jeremy's uploading contract things or if they're going automatically, but we'll see if the price comes in here. But no, it doesn't even have Geis on your roster yet. The fuck, MFL.
Base price of about 4.87 mil for year one.
Oh, I don't know who hopped in, but hello. I gotta hop onto the screen here. All right, so we got Minnesota hopping on. So we do have the Geis pick at 4.8. Like I said, I than Fournette, especially at the price point that I have Fournette. So I like that pick of Geis a whole lot. Mm-hmm. So we got Detroit. I don't know if he's in the chat. I don't care. Detroit, you're on the clock. Make a pick. Make it count. So Mike, I discussed before Brian hopped on the trade. We obviously now see who was available at that 105 selection, and we got to see who Brian took there at 105. I don't know if you were listening or following along on your way back from work, but my working theory on you trading out of 105 was that you wanted a quarterback. You wanted one of the top three quarterbacks, being Rosen, Mayfield, or Darnold, because you weren't sold on Josh Allen and didn't want the risk of Lamar Jackson. And in not getting that at 105, that trading back for multiple pieces, in which, this is best ball, where you can grab, a running back for half the price at the end of the first round, or grab two of them. And then with the 2019 picks attached there, you could essentially grab four of them if you really wanted to, and nicely round out your roster there. So was that what this was, is that you kind of looked at the draft and projected those three quarterbacks to go, and you wanted to back out?
So, I mean, look, I had to come to Jesus about my team earlier this morning. My top offensive weapons outside of Brian Tannehill are D'Onta Foreman, Hunter Henry, and Mike Wallace. So, I'm not a quarterback away. So, sitting there at 105 and taking a shot at Jackson or Allen doesn't make a ton of sense, because I'm going to be picking at the top of next year's draft. So what's the thing that makes the most sense for me? Do I take Geis, who again, I agree with everything you said. I think he's in the same talent tier as Barkley. And again, in a good situation. I already have Pirine, so I'll give you the backfield. Or do I turn it into a couple more pieces that let me fix some other holes, take the year, eat the $17 million cap hit? I think about all but 14 of it will burn off for next year, and then go into 2019 as the draft I really used to launch my team forward. So pick up two late firsts this year. Figure those will be role player, defensive contributor type of players. Get two firsts next year. One's yours, one's Tampa's, who I think was one of the playoff leaders as well, so I'm expecting them to be late. But still, I get four contributors, and then likely my pick's going to be better as a result of not getting Geis. For getting out of this year's draft. So I like Lamar a lot, based off the sheer number of leagues I'm in with you, how much I like Lamar.
Yes.
But that said, I could take him this year and hope he's what I think he is next year, or I use likely what's going to be a top 5 pick of mine next year to help my quarterback position. and then use these 4 picks to help round out the rest of my roster, which seems like the smarter deal. And look, I mean, this is one of my first times this deep into contract play, so I had to learn some lessons in year 1, and now I'm ready to apply them in year 2.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That sounds great. Yeah, so there are 3 of us that, myself and you were taking Lamar Jackson as the 101 quarterback in a couple things that we did over this past offseason. In our Star Wars league, you took him, and then I followed up right with the pick there. So I think you and I were, at the time, the highest on Lamar Jackson. I still am very high on Lamar Jackson. There is a third pony to enter the Lamar Jackson race, which I hit on with Brian a little bit ago before you got on. Prior to that, they still have a pick. They still have a semi-early pick. So I don't want to pump the Lamar Jackson, train too much in case he has hopes. I don't think he should go Lamar Jackson here. I think he's got some other needs here, but you never know with him. But we'll see how that goes.
And truth be told, I did try and pull a Brian and get back into this pick. Didn't end up working out, but tried to make something happen there. Again, I didn't do it in simultaneous trades like he did, but I'm not as skilled as he is. I still have a little while to go before I can be on that plane.
Yeah, that was almost as good as my drafting of Dallas Goedert, and then trading Goedert for a first and another pick, and then drafting Goedert with the very next pick because I had 2 in a row. So I drafted Goedert and then traded it, got a first, got a later pick, and then drafted Goedert again, that was phenomenal. I couldn't have worked out better.
Hey, that was in the Star Wars League, and may the 4th be with you.
Yes, it is May 4th. But yeah, that was totally awesome. I do like when talks, and we didn't really talk much about his talks, but I really do like when talks work out like that, where you can pull, multiple strings in a real short time period, or have deals work off of each other, where I'd like to trade back, but I want to move ahead. Can you see so I had a picture hanging on the wall back here, and my cat ran up and took it down, and so it ripped so that's what that hole is back there. So I have to get that patched. But so that was the other night. My cat ran up and took the picture off the wall, and it ripped it straight off of, like, it's down to, like, I've got to putty that. I think I'd seal it or something, because that's it's actually it took off the plaster piece too, so I don't know what I'm fucking gonna do with that. But I don't know. Let me see if Lyons is online.
We're chatting back and forth. Like I said, I was trying to get back.
1 minute ago, he was online. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Please do. Please chat about how you're trying to move up.
No, I mean it's. I think it's, if you're not looking for a quarterback, it's a spot that makes a lot of sense to move down right here. So Falcons made sense in what he was doing, because he got his quarterback at 2, and then he gets his running back at 5. In kind of a premium spot here. Here, like you said, you get that beginning of the next tier of quarterback. You're right at the top of the tier for running back. But then I think something that everyone's still trying to figure out here is what's the value of the other premium positions in this league. One might say that tight end is a tough position to corner in this market, which is why you've seen some premium prices put on some of the top tight ends, which is completely counterintuitive to the NFL. NFL, on the other hand, really prioritizes corner and D end, while, as anyone who's played a format like this knows, corners are more dime a dozen. So this part of the draft becomes very interesting, because who really wants that Allen or Jackson tier of quarterback, and thinks that, believes in them as a go forward and is willing to pay up for it. I think you're probably not going to get the same price that Brian pulled for, trading away Darnold, basically. But again, it's a question there. Or do you stick and pick? And if you're the Lions and think you're a couple pieces away, what's really your priority here? You have Winston on, I think, $27 million is his contract. Brown on another huge contract. So do you take someone like Chubb and build that pass rush, Do you take someone like Roquan Smith as a different making running a linebacker? Really, it's a question of, does quarterback still maintain the same premium it did for 3 of the first 4 picks, or do you shift gears to another position where you're going to get an elite difference maker? And even though we're trying to set up like we're the NFL, we're not exactly going to be.
No, I think you're right, Mike. There's going to be some serious questions about what we value these premium positions, and what positions are premium in this league. Like we saw kind of some of that being alluded to in free agency, where we had wide receivers tend to go a little top heavy with pricing. We saw defensive ends go a little top heavy in pricing. Safeties kind of topped out at that couple $1 million mark. None really reached up higher like they did in the startups, where we saw Landon Collins go for what, 13 million, something like that.
I was going to say somebody's higher than Landon Collins. I don't know who it is. You have Jamal Adams, don't you? What's Jamal Adams' contract?
13.7.
Okay. All right. So maybe I was 20 is a little high, but yeah, so maybe around that 13, 14.
So I think we learned a few things in the first year where what positions we start. Like Goose brought up a really great point, and I think in one of his trade baits and a couple times in chat, is that we have to start 2 defensive ends in this league. And having to start two defensive ends makes it a little more important to have at least a couple of them that can produce for something for you. Same with like linebackers. I didn't realize how having a few 3-4 linebackers, while sacks aren't really high for them scoring wise in this league, having a few of them, they're tending to be cheaper, seems to be a better output of production for you on a weekly basis than landing a Luke Kuechly or a Bobby Wagner at 16, 15 million. So the other thing I thought about for the trade you and I did was those end of the first round picks, that 5th year option is going to cost me that average salary. That's the top 15, I think it is, for some of those positions. And I just wasn't necessarily comfortable paying for that for some of these potentially role players, especially when I already had a pick in the top 10 that I'm going to have to account for, and now I'm going to have to account for another one. So I'm just trying to balance the accounting even too, in terms of where those players are valued.
Yeah, so I checked my phone because obviously there's multiple teams that are after the Buffalo Bills to get the Buffalo Bills to trade down. So there's some teams that are trying to come up into that top 10. I think that's a perfect spot for those 2 other quarterbacks that are there, Allen and Lamar Jackson. So I don't know if those teams are needing a quarterback, but I just know that teams are going after the Bills. There's probably a couple other teams that are actively looking to come up to certain spots, but I do know there's multiple teams trying to trade with the Bills. I do know that Detroit was fucking online a minute ago. I don't know why he didn't pick. I would imagine that he kind of looked, and I would assume he's upset that Geis is gone and is now back to the board, because I don't think that he is any longer online. If I could get to his main roster page here to see. So he was online. Now he's no longer online, so he didn't pick. Those are the best. I love when people do that. When they're on the clock, they log in, see that they're on the clock, and then disappear. And then when they do that multiple times over the course of being on the clock, it's just one of my absolute favorite things to do in a draft.
Sarcastic.
I think I believe it was Mike that started talking about defensive players, and that's something that I think is going to be one of the most interesting things of this draft. When those guys start going, I think then we're gonna really have some massive deviations in our drafts compared to the standard league drafts or standard IDP thus far, just because of the positional need, team positional need, price point, all of that stuff, and I think where it'll go crazy to where we might have, once one defensive player goes, I would imagine we're going to have a massive run on them. But until then, it's obviously going to be all offense, and so I'm trying to kind of figure where do teams start to go defense, and I don't think we're going to see defense in the top 10. I don't think we see defense in the top 15. And so looking at that, I start to slide down the board again. So Falcons is there at 117. And I'll ask you because you're probably more prepared to talk about yourself than I am to talk about you. But I would imagine that that's a decent place to start considering defense because you've got your quarterback already. There's not going to be another one that drops there. For some fucking reason, your running back still doesn't show up on your roster. I don't know what's wrong with MFL.
I blame Jeremy.
There it goes.
It's always Jeremy's fault. When in doubt.
Every time I open your team, I've got to refresh it twice to get guys to show up there. I couldn't say wide receiver, but you do have a lot of money wrapped up in wide receiver. And so I don't know if you dedicate more to wide receiver, especially that early. And so then you kind of flip over to the defensive side of the ball. And I think that you've done a good. I don't know where Derek Barnett came from on your roster. I think that was a trade that you made.
Nope. At the beginning.
Did you draft him? All right.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Lucky you. Okafor is an addition from this past offseason auction. You just picked up another DN, so you seem to be starting to build up that defense as your offensive pieces start to come together. So I'd imagine you'd have to consider these IDP guys at some point, or you're going to, or not going to. I don't know.
I think defense. So I've held the idea that you're probably going to have a heavy offensive draft for the first 2/3 at least, and then you'll start seeing some defensive players like Tremaine Edmonds, Roquan. Chubb is probably still going to slide down the board just from the standpoint of where he landed. If he went to like Cleveland or Indianapolis and got the DE or the D end designation, he'd probably be a lot higher of value in my opinion, and probably would be one of the top players or one of the top defensive players taken, and probably in that 15 to 20 range, probably on the 20 or probably closer to 20. But I have a feeling a lot of the more premium defensive players are going to be on the back third of the first round, and probably going to be really sought after in the first part of the second. That's my guess.
Yeah, if I had to try and guess this pick right here, if the Lions can't move it, I think it's going to be Rashad Penny. He's got Carson. Penny just makes a lot of sense. He's got a need at running back. He's got AB at receiver. I think he wants to try and move down a couple of slots just to make that selection, thinking that Penny's still going to be there. And, he's got a couple of needs. But that said, it doesn't really sound like people are clamoring to get up to 106, especially kind of, I think, Lewis, as you were kind of pointing out, the next three teams really are set at quarterback. Not necessarily long term, but at least short term. I think Lions have Winston. Titans, I think, have like either Brady or
Cousins.
Cousins. I think the Giants have Brady. Niners have I think it was Carr or something like that. So it's going to be interesting to see if someone wants to move up to get a quarterback in this range. Otherwise, it's likely to be sitting right there for the Bills at 10, or again, it's going to be an interesting stretch here because just like the NFL draft, there was kind of a stretch where you weren't expecting someone to take a quarterback if you got past a certain point. I think it was closer to say the Cardinals, so 15 in the NFL draft. Here we're a little bit earlier for that stretch, so I could see either Penny going here, or if someone moves up, I could see someone moving up for a quarterback, or I wouldn't be terribly shocked to see Roquan Smith come off the board here.
You like Roquan? Edmonds is my IDP guy, so I like him. The Steelers drafted his brother, so maybe that's why I like him. But
Edmonds is an off linebacker in a 4-3 scheme. You've got Roquan in the Patrick Willis role in a 3-4 scheme with the D coordinator who set up Patrick Willis in San Francisco. So, like I said, I'm saying the name a lot, and I'm sure that someone's going to throw something at my head here in a second for saying a bunch of players who haven't been picked yet. But, that's what we're doing. Either way, the reason I'm mentioning him is because he's in the scheme with the coordinator and with the comp that was made before the NFL draft. So, I could see that making a ton of sense. I think it was Brian who mentioned earlier that the 3-4 tacklers in this league are worth their weight in gold. So why not lock one down if you're not sold on an offensive player? But again, that's probably why they want to trade down.
I would be tentative taking defense just from the standpoint of how it's easier to control their price more than an offensive player in my mind, and you don't have as much control over their production from a standpoint.
Yep.
Just because, if you take a defensive player in the top 10, you're going to be paying one of those silly prices like a Bosa, a Mac, that were really high. And if I was in that position, I really wouldn't want to have to think about taking that. If they're going to be in my top 10 players, thinking about taking them at that point, just from the standpoint that if you're going to keep them longer than the 4 years, you're going to have to pay them a lot of money. And I'm learning that I don't want to have to pay defensive players a lot of money in this type of format, unless it's like a D end, and that's even pretty marginal.
No, and that's fair. And again, the question is going to be, like you said, I think it's a top 10 average for if it's a top 10 pick, and then it's 3rd through 25th, I think, if it's a later than 10th pick. If you look at last year, though, DeMarcus Lawrence, Calais Campbell, Cam Jordan, all under about $5 million in the top 3. So you're not necessarily dodging anything by missing that first tier. Again, I'm looking at just a DN. Let me pull up linebacker at the moment.
That's true.
Linebacker, you got Wagner 1, Mosley 2, Davis 3. Again, you dodge Wagner's salary, but you still have Kirksey, you still have Deion Jones, you have still Khalil Mack, Zach Brown, Kuechly. So waiting until after 10 isn't necessarily a market advantage at this point. So while I agree you don't want to have a massive amount of your salary tied up in linebacker, and I think that's why the Bills made the move they did to get rid of Wagner, and I think it was Kuechly, yeah.
Somebody joined. I don't know who joined.
Yeah, basically.
Sorry to cut you off. Somebody else popped in. I got a bidding that somebody joined.
It's Matt.
Go ahead.
Chargers.
All right, go ahead, Mike. Carry on.
Yeah, so basically, you had $28 million tied up in linebacker, but 2 top 11 linebackers. With that said, wait until after the top 10 isn't necessarily the cash saver that we think it is based off the way the rules are set up. Now, again, we're work in progress with this league. The rules could change. Who knows? But again, waiting until after 10 just to try and save some money, I don't think makes a ton of sense here. If you're sold on a player, you take the player.
That's a good point. I can't be wrong with someone if they really like that player. So if they really like that player and they feel that price point is what they want to pay for them, then I can't argue with that. So that's a very good point.
So let's go pay up and move up to 6 for Edmonds.
Who, me? I was looking at what I would pay, and I've actually I tried to trade. I'm not one of the teams that is trading with Bills today or attempting to, but I did try yesterday to move up to 110. But he didn't want to do that. There are very few teams that I can actually do the kind of trade I want to do with. And so Bills was one of them. Lions doesn't have enough money for me to do that. Detroit is fucking back online, so maybe he picked. Baltimore Ravens is also online. I don't think he probably even knows that we're drafting, but I'm glad that he logged in.
I think he wants to play Fortnite.
I was gonna play, but I can't play and do this at the same time. My TV went into sleep mode, as did my Xbox. But I'm gonna refresh this and see if he picked.
He didn't. I don't believe so.
No, I think he's trying to shop it in chat right now.
So we have. I was on a different page. I'm on the clock on a different draft that I haven't been following. That I don't get notifications for because
it's your league.
I forgot to link it. Well, no, it's because anything that I have Jeremy linked to, I turn my notifications off so that he doesn't get pinged for it. And so then I got the one ping that I'm on the clock, and so I have no idea how the draft's gone so far. So I'm trying to figure that out. And so while I was doing that, I guess Google makes some weird noise when somebody enters, and so Matt of the LA Chargers has joined us here. I'm assuming he wants to talk about his pick of Baker Mayfield at 3.
101 at 103. Congratulations.
Yep. Got the steal of the draft, obviously. Nah, it was I was listening when y'all were talking about it versus like Darnold, Allen, Mayfield, and then taking a running back. You guys kind of touched on it with the value part of it. I just like all of the running backs that were available at that point. I'm not really sold on any of them for the value that was at 103 when I could have taken somebody like Mayfield who, hey, maybe in 4 or 5 months, somebody really realizes I need a QB and I either need a QB for this year or I've got somebody like Breeze, Brady, Manning, who's old and they're going to need a replacement soon. So I might be able to get value out of them more than I would have gotten out of taking like a Geis or a Chubb or somebody like that. Just because all those running back, none of them really strike my fancy for the value that's there. Because like Geis, yeah, it's coach speak, but Gruden's come out and said that he's going to be our first and second down guy, and Chris Thompson's still going to be the third down guy, which makes sense if you look at it from a contract standpoint and the fact that they didn't have to really go out and get Geis as a running back cost-wise in the draft. So he doesn't have that same draft capital that bringing in somebody that's like a first or second round guy where like, yeah, it's just coach speak. They're going to say that about everyone. But I feel like Geis's role in Washington's not going to be as profound as some think. And I still don't buy into Chubb just outright beating Hyde out the gate. And Penny's a weird pick there for the Seahawks. That I like Penny a lot, but yeah, I felt like it was the value pick, and I think Baker's going to do well.
It was.
So.
Yeah, it was, and that's what I briefly said I think it was one sentence. I was like, if he realizes the value, he might go quarterback. But I wasn't sure Mayfield was going to be the quarterback, and I think we were just not that I was shitting on him. It's just in terms of how I see things. That I'm not sure that he's going to get there right away. But again, you have Mahomes, and he's obviously going to play. So you have the luxury of waiting on Mayfield. But I want to talk for a second about some of the objects that are in the background of what kind of candle do you have burning here?
This one or that one?
Well, the one is a salt rock.
Yeah, that's a salt rock.
I have a salt rock. The candle. What do we have going on here?
This is Mango Margarita by Sonoma Goods for Life. It's from Kohl's. I got it for $10.
Very nice. I see a couple other things I'd like to point out. There's a stuffed Pikachu on the top shelf.
Back up there.
And then I also see the final, because I'll be here for days picking out stuff. But the last thing I want to talk about is there is a massive trophy on the floor down there. What is that trophy for?
Where at? Massive trophy.
Is that not a trophy?
Oh, like right here?
Yeah.
That's a vacuum cleaner, dude.
Nuh-uh.
It looks
like a trophy. It looks like a trophy. It looks like a trophy.
Best vacuum cleaner on the market.
Here's your 2018 GM's trophy, guys.
Hold on, get out of the way. No, in the closet, back on the floor in the closet. What is the thing that looks like a trophy? What is back there that looks like a trophy?
Nothing?
Just walk back there. Can you walk back there? Can we send you back there?
This isn't my closet. This is just the other side of my room.
All right, yeah, keep going in your room. What is back there? Up against the wall.
This?
Yeah, there we go. What is that?
Yeah, this is a trophy. It's
Okay, like I was like, I see a fucking trophy, and you're telling me there's no trophy. What do we
the
have?
Sacramento Regional Tournament for Jaime's Black Belt Academy Weapons, first place 2002.
Oh, so
Oh,
that's like
if
a
you want to see
badass
cool
trophy.
stuff, I got you.
You already showed us the vacuum cleaner. I don't know how.
How can we top that?
All right, so back to the topic at hand here while you're pulling this stuff out.
Well, he's got
There
something
you go,
here.
Lewis.
Oh, okay.
Shit.
So don't mess with him. All right. So I like the Mayfield pick. Thought it was great. I'd have taken him at 101 if I could have. I don't think you try to get the 101 on purpose. You try to do good things with your fantasy teams. Yeah, no, those are just three things that as you were talking, I was trying to figure out what the fragrance of the candle was that was burning. The Pikachu that I had to point out, and then I saw the trophy that you didn't tell me think was a trophy, but I saw that, so I wanted to see what you were actually good at, since fantasy football might not be one of those things.
Hey, I'm very good at tanking. Thank you very much.
Hey, there's the backhanded compliment we were all waiting on. So, as someone who's in kind of a nice spot here with two young, desirable quarterbacks here, again, you were talking about taking Baker with the potential to flip one of these quarterbacks as someone who would need one. Which are you thinking you're more likely to build around? Is it Baker on the very desirable, affordable rookie contract, starting at 5.4 and then growing very slightly, or we talking Patrick Mahomes, who has all of the weapons one might need to hit 5,000 yards in his second year?
Well, talent-wise, it's a tough spot for me because I'm just a disgusting Patrick Mahomes homer because I'm a Texas Tech alum. So that was also slightly painful for me to pick Baker Mayfield in a draft because, for one, he's a traitor.
Hey, Mahomes beat him out, so
He did. But money-wise, Baker makes way more sense to build around because having a QB at that low of a cost for effectively 6 years, because you get the 5th-year option on first-rounders, and then I can tag him, which will be he'll have a single year at a top 10 price or top 5 price or whatever it is in this league. He definitely makes more sense money-wise. If I had to bet on one being the better fantasy producer, at this point, I still think it's Pat, but Baker definitely has all of the weapons in Cleveland to succeed if they either somehow manage to take a competent coach's brain and put it into Hugh Jackson's head, or they just fire Hugh Jackson.
That's more likely.
So, I mean, at this point, I'm still favorite to Pat, but they both have their ups and downs. Pat, I think, is going to be the better producer, at least in the short term. I don't think either one's really going to be I think I'll end up with 2 top 15 QBs if I'm lucky. But I don't think I can really go wrong either way. But just looking at my team, I've got a shit ton of money stacked in the linebacker now because you guys were talking about the trade that Bills and I made.
Yep.
It's definitely a lot of money, and I was kind of hesitant at first to take back both Wagner and Kuechly, but at the same time, it means I don't have to worry about that position really at all because they'll both produce, and then one out of the other 5 or 6 guys, or however many I end up with at the end of the draft, will produce enough to fill in starts, basically. So it kind of opens me up to spend because, if I had been paying a top quarterback salary to somebody, then I definitely can't bring back both Wagner and Kuechly. So I think, I don't know. I'm still not sold on either Pat or Baker 100%, but
well, you're in an interesting situation. Kind of like you said, you made the call saying what's the better long-term value quarterback rather than going after a guy or someone like that, which I can see making sense. But I could definitely understand the temptation on your side to take that running back because you've got your quarterback at probably league average value with Pat. You've got Robinson and Juju at receiver. You've got Kittle and Howard at tight end. And then now with the linebackers, a pretty solid defense. I could see you saying, hey, I'm a running back away. Let's just go for this thing. So I admire it still sticking to the long-term vision there. But at the same time, it does look like you're just about a running back away unless Thompson really does replicate last year's efficiency, which – with losing the first 2 downs, could be tough, but is possible.
I cut out a bit in there, but I cut the end of it. And yeah, I definitely was a slightly tough choice for me to take a quarterback over a running back, and I was hoping that the Redskins wouldn't draft somebody like Geis to where, yes, I talked earlier about the coach speak with Gruden saying Thompson will be the third down back. But at the same time, there is some concern with me with guys taking some of those touches away. So definitely looking at the roster, I feel like it's a lot better than it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely see the not necessarily glaring, but obvious hole at running back. So it was a tougher decision for me to take quarterback over running back, but I feel like that's a hole that I can either fill in the soon future or even next year's draft because I've got my pick and Broncos. Who, just looking over Broncos' entire roster, I'm fairly sure is going to be a solid pick, especially if he continues on with his shows up and acts really weird and then disappears for month on end act. So
yeah, that's a good one. So we lost. I don't know if my girlfriend came in the door. I was trying to draft in this other league. So we lost Falcons. I don't know if he said anything live that he was hopping off. He hopped off. So we'll see. Maybe I'll grab somebody else. I think Redskins wants to come on and talk about his trade, so maybe we'll grab him here in a little bit. But I did message Detroit just to see. No, I'm not pushing, not prodding. By no means am I in a rush because I think we're now six picks in or on the 6th pick, and it's only been a couple hours here, so I think that's a fine pace. But he is indeed in trade talks. He is looking to move down, and he has
Packers moved up.
He's discussing some trades with Buffalo. So there's a team Buffalo. I knew he's going to trade with Buffalo. So
Packers moved up to 6,
and then. Who was the other team? He was talking to 49ers. But so apparently Packers jumped in. I don't really think we should talk much about Packers because he can't join us because he doesn't. He didn't have his computer plugged in the other night when we tried the podcast for my GOT league. And so the IT guy that he is was unavailable for the podcast because he couldn't get his freaking computer plugged in. And so I'm gonna switch over. If somebody has the trade, can they throw out what the trade is while I switch back over to NFL GMs here?
Packers gave up 122, the 22nd pick, his second, which was also the 22nd pick in that round, as well as his 2019 first round pick for 106 alone.
What is he coming up with? Do we know what he needs? Does anybody have his roster open?
Let me pull that up.
Yeah, I can get you.
Packers.
He may be moving up for Chubb because he's got Hyde, so he could be looking to grab the.
He's moving up for Chubb.
Okay, yeah, I would say that's the pick. That's a very, very Jeremy thing to do. If you have Duke Johnson too, by the way, you might as well just attempt to trade him to Jeremy because he likes Duke Johnson.
Well, he's got $16 million tied up in Carlos Hyde. Holy shit!
Yeah, so I would imagine that has to be for Chubb. So I would, for those that are following on, I would expect that pick to be put in here shortly.
Well, again, and moving to the second pick is almost a must-do anyway because you don't have the cash left after Chubb to pay him. He's got 6.5 left in cap room, so he takes Chubb, and basically that's it for his cap space.
Yeah, he does have fairly decent comp pick. He has the 336, which is the fourth best comp pick to have in the third round there. Mm-hmm. So he does have that one. I don't see. I'm trying to think if there's any, finagling or moving of players that he can maybe gain some cap space because, of course, Brian's not here. He hopped off, but him and I are one of the only teams that have really used the extensions thus far to reduce cap number for this season. I don't know what you said, but
Muffle.
That's all I got. It sounds like you're eating.
Chubb is the pick.
Chubb is the
That was better. I thought you were eating something there for a little bit. I was like, what the hell is he trying to say? No. But I heard you better that time. So Chubb is in, and that puts 107 is that.
106 107 is.
I was going to say, it's not 49ers yet, but he's close.
Titans.
Titans. So we'll be here for a while. So I don't foresee us making much progress. I'm going to log in and see if he's been in. I believe, was one of the teams that's not logged on in a while. Oh, so he was on an hour ago. So he is around. I tried to get on some people about logging in because the Eagles were one of the teams that hadn't logged on in 60-some days, which is typically for that's too long for me. I like people to stay within a 2 to 3 week window. I mean, I don't like that. I prefer it to be more often than that, but I'll settle for that. Anything longer than that, I start to bug people, and there were a couple that were real long. And so, but Rams is the other one. He uses the app, so I know he doesn't log in. So Broncos is really the only one that I've got to check and make sure he's still alive. Which at this point I'm not sure he is, because when he was around, did
he exist in the first place?
Yeah, so I don't know. So we'll see. Maybe the Dolphins just forgot to log in as him. The Dolphins were on 3 minutes ago, so they're actually still online. So we'll see. Yeah, so I'm gonna hop over to the chat and at Titans and make sure he knows he's on the clock, because I think that's always for some reason there's a bunch of stupid people that disconnect their notifications. So they don't get trade emails, or they don't get, I don't know why they do that. So just looking at the chat, Cleveland Browns, said that was a high price to pay to trade out for Chubb, and Packers, like what we hinted on, was looking to ensure his Hyde investment, and then he put the puke emoji. But I don't think it worked because it still says pukes. So, again, the IT guy with a win on trying to get the puke emoji to show up, and just got the word pukes.
It's a price you got to pay, but at the end of the day, and I think that's the under for when I look at the first day, end of the day for the first time. But he's got Hyde coming off his books next year, which is about $16 million. He's got Fitz coming off his books next year for about another 14 or 15. So you trade up for it, and he's going to be a player in free agency. He's making his top up. Next year, he's going to have to look at either extending Rodgers or renegotiating with Rodgers, as well as a couple other things. So it makes some good sense. He's pushing for it this year. He's expecting that pick to be late. So if Rodgers goes down again, then that's going to be a great first-round pick to own. If not, then he's likely probably in that 127, 128 range.
Yeah, and it's a very unlike Jeremy thing to do. He's not really one that I think moves around that much or even that extensively. He likes to deal in small deals. I almost said small arms, like small arms dealer. He doesn't like to, not that he doesn't like to, but just usually the value isn't there on him making these type of big deals. I'm interested to see if he uploaded. You hit on it slightly on what the contract situation is going to be for him. Moving forward here, and of course, freaking MFL doesn't even. I don't. They've got something like we had people disappearing the other day, like on taxi squads. Like they were just like, I think it was you, Mike. I think that was you today, and then I had somebody message me about their league that there's like these phantom there's something glitchy with MFL where players are not loading where they're supposed to be. So I'm gonna have to send them a ticket and figure out how to word it. All right, so there's Nick Chubb. He's up to date, 4.36 mil, leaving Jeremy with slightly like $150,000 over $2 million. So he's got $2.15 million left to go here. So it'll be interesting. I don't know if he should pick with his other picks or trade out of those, because you do like to have a buffer. Titans is on. I added him, so I got him on. I'm gonna switch over and see. I didn't even see what his team was. We didn't even get to talk about it because I thought we'd have a little bit because he's a truck driver and availability, especially on a cell phone for those guys or a computer even, is a little much. No, Titans there's a couple of truck drivers in here. Titans, Broncos is one. Titans is one. Colts is working on being one. I don't know if Jaguars is either. Jaguars might. I can't remember. There's a handful of fucking guys in here. My fucking cat is up here again. So I'm gonna switch over and see what he has because we didn't even get to discuss his needs. The pick is Sonny Michel, which is going to be either a great pick or a really bad pick. I'm not sure.
So salary hasn't been updated yet, but he's on there. It's interesting because he's got cap tied up in Jamal Williams and Joe Williams as well. You got to wonder why, if your only quarterback is Kirk Cousins and you have an option, even if it is someone you got to wait a year on, why not grab one of those other options there? Or again, I said it before, go defensive because he's got $27 million in Cousins, $17 million in Cook, $17 million in Reek, and then $13 million in Jordan Reed. You need some defensive help on that team, or take the advice that you're going to be a longer term team. Take the quarterback who's going to be the longer term quarterback.
He needs a linebacker. The DNs are, those are perfectly fine DNs at great prices. Probably needs to look at extending Mike Daniels this season. I don't know if he will. Alan Bailey, he's going to lose. But definitely, I could have seen a linebacker go here, but again, I just think it's too early for these defensive guys. I know that the price, you're not worried about the price concerns and all that stuff. But I think one of the better discounts that you can get in this league has been on defense. You can get some really, really solid guys fairly cheaply. You just look at what Arizona and Kansas City were able to do in the auction this past offseason, and they each picked up multiple safeties at somewhere in the $2 to $4 million range that were top safeties. You were able to get some linebacker depth. Not necessarily the star names, but guys that are scoring over 100 points. And when you're in that for linebacker, I think it's about 100 to 120 is where the top 50 to top 75 at the position tier is. And so that's a really good place to be. So if you can get that cheaper than what you can spend on a draft pick, then by all means. And I think that's what's going on here. I'm a little surprised that the pick wasn't a wide receiver, because this is where I said later on, I said there's a team somewhere that needs a wide receiver. This is that team. Tyreek Hill is great. The 270 points is great. But they just got Sammy Watkins. You're now going to have a new quarterback. So there might be some regression there. We don't know anything about Corey Coleman other than he's injury prone. And then there's no other wide receiver here. The only thing that I can say is this, that there are more wide receivers in the NFL than there are running backs that are valuable, or running backs that have value. I don't know how many there are in terms of running backs, wide receivers in the league, but there are more wide receivers that will have a better fantasy aspect in this league than there are running backs, which is why I think the running backs is just, we will see running backs go until, I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking, where's the last running back in the first round for you guys? Is it Ronald Jones? Is it Kieran Johnson? Is it somebody? I mean, because I'm figuring that we're going well into the second round. Running backs will be high in our first round draft.
In terms of, again, I'm I have no idea. Like I said, I wasn't expecting Michelle to go this early, but again, I think that puts a squeeze on some other teams. Like I said, I expected Penny if Lions stuck and picked to go 106. Chubb's gone now because Packers traded up, and now Michelle's gone. I can imagine somebody panicking, taking Penny in the next couple picks. So I could see probably Johnson being gone in the top 25. But at the same time, I could see people kind of cooling off and saying, hey, receivers are needed, defense is needed, and waiting until 15 or more. So, like I said,
well, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at Jones, Penny, Freeman, Johnson. Probably those guys alone. Probably what is that? 4 guys. I don't know what pick we're on. Those guys I think are going to go in the top 12 picks. That's just what my thoughts are on the matter. Just because, again, of the scarcity of an actual. And if you go to some of these teams and look, there's nobody that has running back depth, solid running back depth. At least that I can think of. Buccaneers spent a shitload of money for his, though, and then it's traded away some of it, and it's not as good as what it was, but he probably has the best. And it shows with how good his team was. But
so I'm thinking so if I'm looking at the Giants, who on the clock right now, I'm thinking they probably go Penny. Because they've got Beckham, they've got Gronk, they've got Martavis, they've got Paul Richardson. It's a team that is looking like it's trying to compete this year. And if you're going to do that, you need that running back depth. The question is, you got $30 million tied up in Tom Brady on a 1-year deal. By the way, it was a 1-year deal. I thought that was a franchise tag bid.
What?
Tom Brady, did he have Brady last year? Or was that he won Brady on the franchise auction?
He got him for a franchise tag. I probably just didn't update it.
Well, again, it's a 1-year.
The price is probably updated. Yeah, it's a 1-year. It's a whoops. I clicked Lions instead of Giants. Yeah, he got him.
Retained at a 1-year deal.
Yes, he traded for him, and he should have extended him, and he didn't. Which I don't know what happened there. It's something fishy. I don't know if it was if he was on Cardinals when I generated it, and then he just kind of went up and traded it away to Giants and didn't tell him that he was a franchise tag. I don't know what happened. I think it was just straight up Cardinals traded him to the Giants, and the Giants didn't trade extend him. And in doing so, it cost him a shit ton of money because he had to franchise tag him.
So if I remember correctly, the Cardinals tagged him and then traded him.
Okay.
Because he expired this year.
We'll see. I'm sure he'll comment on it and let us know what's going on. But somebody franchise tagged him. I don't know who, but I can go back and look. But I'm not real worried about it. But yeah, looking at Giants, I'd agree. I think the pick's a running back. At this point, it would be whoever his top running back is. I can flip over and share with those following what his roster looks like because
you can share the screen.
Yeah, yes, I can.
A lot of top end talent, but not a whole lot of depth.
Yeah, so he's got Brady at quarterback again. Do you
the 49ers punter and kicker? Why do you have the 49ers punter and kicker for the Giants? Like, what part of that is intriguing?
He might be a 49ers fan. Who knows? And the kicker held out, and he re-signed the kicker, so that's interesting. But again, I think, like I said, linebacker is the first IDP position I'd consider going for. Although his DNs are terrible. I don't know if you got that far down in your analysis of who he's picking. And we saw what even an average DN goes for $3 to $4 million here. The top tier ones are going for, I think Oak 4 was the top tier. We didn't even have a full season of him. He was hurt, only scored 125 points, and fetched $8 million in free agency. So do you go the route of a DN here? But I don't think Chubb has the DN designation. I think he's outside. Did he get linebacker? What did he get?
I think he got
tackle?
defensive ends.
Okay. I'll have to double check that. They were messing them around with them. I don't know why they do this. They were messing around with them again the other day. So they changed a whole bunch of player designations. But anyways, if Chubb has a DN, I think that'd be a good fit here. But again, for those of you that can see his roster, he does have 3 comp picks. They're all 4th, 5th round guys.
Chubb's a linebacker.
Yeah, he got the linebacker designation.
Yeah. So see, I thought that something stupid happened like that. So he got bumped to outside linebacker, which I don't think helps. I think that it hurts his fantasy, value. But we'll see. Anyways, the team doesn't have any running backs. It's clogged up there because he has comp picks. But Cameron Artis-Payne and Kareem Hunt are his only running backs. I would assume it has to be a running back here, unless we see the surprise pick at the end, which I'm not going to rule out at this point because, again, Falcons was with us earlier. Brian was with us earlier and commented on Goose making a good point, which are far and few in between. But he did comment in his trade bait that we start 2 defensive ends here, and the only 2 defensive ends that this guy has are Carlos Watkins and Jeremy Itachu, who score a combined, I don't even know what that is, 40, 51 points between the 2 of them. So he's got to get production out of the end.
The top 3 edge guys from the actual NFL draft, Davenport's the only one that's being marked as defensive end.
Ooh, so that hurts. So I guess the pick could be Davenport, unless we think that Chubb gets moved to a defensive end designation, but I'm not sure he is because Von Miller has that other outside linebacker spot, and if he's playing the opposite edge of Von Miller, then he's going to have to play linebacker. So that definitely hurts. That definitely hurts his value there. So as much as I would say that this would be where we see our first defensive player, I don't think Davenport is worth taking this early. I could be wrong, but I just don't see it. And then looking at his taxi squad, he does have James Conner, and then Devontae Mays is -3 points on his taxi squad. So if anything happens with Bell, he does have James Conner. James Conner was hurt and fairly early in the season, I want to say, for Pittsburgh, and never kind of got back from that. So only scored 14 points. I'd expect him to do a little bit better this season. So maybe he has 3 running backs, but I still suspect that it is a running back with the caution of he could go D-end here because he very, very badly needs one. And depending on what other picks he has, like I said, he could grab a running back later. It just won't be one where that it's a sure thing. He'd have to take a project guy or a risk guy and hope that he pans out. I don't think you can do that with the DNs, so we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think it's just a really tough spot for him if he's looking to try and shore up his defense. Because I don't think you can really talk yourself into taking Davenport that high. Obviously, the Saints talked themselves into taking him excessively high with how much they paid for him, but I don't think you can really leave the offensive talent that's sitting out there, sit there and take a guy like Davenport.
I'm going to add the Giants here real quick.
So again, there's an obvious top pick at the end, and that's DeMarcus Lawrence. You look at the Cardinals who have him, he's not in a bad way at the end. Could we get a first player for pick trade here and Lawrence for, I think it's 108 straight up?
Knowing Cardinals, probably not. I'm in a couple leagues with him and in a fairly active group chat.
Because he's deep enough at receiver. He's got good depth at running back. Although Penny would make a ton of sense for him at running back because he's got Davis as well. He's got Jimmy locked up cheap on the long term. And a solid defense.
What are you talking about? A possible trade up?
I'm saying, and I need to look and see if Cardinals has the cap space to make this work. But if you trade, say, again, I'm just spitballing here, DeMarcus Lawrence and
I think you would have just enough cap space with that trade to do it.
So like DeMarcus Lawrence and Sean Lee for the 108 and something else. At which point he can grab Penny with that pick and shore up his running back. You know, he's got to be the favorite coming out of the West at that point. And since he's got Jimmy, there's a very good chance that that bye week lines up to his bye week. Then he's got something looking like Ingram and Penny at running back, Jimmy at quarterback. He's got Goodwin, Hogan, Landry, Sanders, and Wilson as receivers. Olsen at tight end. Then a strong enough defense that he's, again, in that conversation for competing in the not just the West, but in the NFC.
But then you have to wonder, does Penny produce the same number of points that Lawrence did, even if you get something on top of Penny? Which I don't think he does, especially at a marquee position like defensive end.
Well, and that's the thing. That's why, again, Lawrence is probably worth even more than that because it's not just his performance, but his contract value at 2.1. Not sure if that's his back end value as well. But for a the top D end at $2 million a year is just fucking silly.
Yeah, I think that you'd have to give up a hell of a lot more than somebody like Penny, or even if he's in love with Ronald Jones or something, that he'd need a hell of a lot more than just that pick for Lawrence. I could see it for maybe like Sheard and a little bit something to try and get Penny, but just at that position, that's way too much value on that 5-year contract.
Yeah, that's. Am I still muted?
No, I can hear you. No, like I said, I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think there's a couple options. It's hard. I'm trying to follow along who's signing on and offline to see, potentially who could possibly be making some deals. Like who's online that shouldn't be online, basically. And Chicago and Arizona are two of those teams that are online. The Ravens have checked in. The Ravens still have no idea that the fucking draft's going on.
He's following along though, because he's mentioning some.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm commenting on him. I don't know when he picks, but he was on. He doesn't fucking trade though, so I doubt that he's looking to trade up. Someone probably sent him an offer that expired 3 months ago that he just now noticed and probably signed on a check. But he does pick at 116. We do have, now that I switched over to owner view, the 113 pick is pre-drafted, so if we get there, that's again with the Giants getting on. 49ers is in Afghanistan. I don't know what actually I can look and see what the time change is there as far as that pick. Possibly being picked soon. Bills will be around. Bills might even be. Somebody's in here. I think it's Bills. I was going to say I heard somebody hop in. So Bills is around. Saints was pre-drafted. I don't know what happened. And Colts is a pretty easy guy to get ahead of. So we could, if we get this Giants pick in here, we could see the next couple. I mean, we could hop down to where we're going to have to sit at 114 for 12 hours while the Bengals decide who their best available player is. So I am looking. It is 2 a.m. in Afghanistan. So if we get to 49ers, I'm not sure what the chances are that he picks. I'm not sure that he thought maybe we wouldn't be this far along. As we have had a pretty good run here. So if we get stuck on either him or Giants here, I think we can transition and talk about a couple other things because I have stuck in a couple different changes. The comp picks, which I haven't talked about yet, and again, I'll convert this into a podcast and then send it out so the people that aren't listening live can listen to it. But we'll talk the comp picks, what the rules are with that, what the situation is with that, and as far as skipping picks. Because I want to make sure that everybody's aware of how I'd like that to run so I don't have to deal with any issues. And then there was something else I wanted to discuss, but I forgot what it was because Eric's here. So without further ado, the Bills owner, Eric, is in the building. He is sitting in the hole currently at 110. I broke the news earlier that there were people trying to deal with you for you to possibly move down. And then there was a team, the Giants had said that they were looking to trade with you to have you move up. So how are things? Busy? Anything you want to shed light on without upsetting any owners about potential trade deals or offers or things that didn't happen? Or are people close? Is there something close or no?
Can you hear me? I'm in my car, so I want to make sure it's legible, not.
I don't know what we have a view of, but I don't like it.
I think it's his elbow.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, yeah. No, I got a new car, so it's set up through the car right now, which is pretty nice. But yeah, so I definitely got some offers, more likely to trade down than trade up, but there is still a trade up possibility. Most of them are waiting on how this draft falls. I think the last pick I saw was Sam Darnold. Are we still the same?
No, so we'll catch you up. Sam Darnold was the 104. He went to the Redskins. We've got 105. The Falcons took Darius Geis. The 106, we had a trade. The Detroit Lions had 106. They traded out of that, and Green Bay Packers traded up to that 106 spot. So he came all the way up from what was that, guys? 122. So he came up from 122 to 106 to take Nick Chubb. And then at 107, the Titans grabbed Sonny Michel relatively quickly after that Nick Chubb trade went down. So we're currently on the clock at 108 with the Giants. Then we've got the 49ers. Like I said, it's 2 a.m. in Afghanistan, but he's usually sets alarms and is actually pretty good at being around. So he might be around. I'm just not 100% certain. And then we've got you there at 110, so you're in the hole. So that's how things have gone so far.
Sweet. Oh, wow. That's crazy that Jeremy went ahead and moved up in this draft. He, as a conservative owner in most leagues, he really goes all out in this league.
That's what I did. I did say that. I said that it's a shocking move for him to go that type of an all-in push. He usually doesn't get those moves, but for some reason he does. I don't know if he enjoys the salary cap contract setup, but he definitely is more active in making trades and moves in this league than he is in other places.
Yeah, so that's a nice pickup for him to add another. When you're picking that high, you gotta hit your guy. So that's another bold move, but it could really help his team if his pick pays off. Who did he take, Chubb?
Yeah, he took Chubb to he paired him with Hyde, yeah. What is that, somebody's dog?
Yeah, my dog's sitting in my lap and getting ready to bark at the kids running out in the rain.
Very nice. I think we lost Mike.
Have we had any trades off the clock?
We had a couple beforehand, which you probably would have saw. We saw Atlanta and Minnesota make a deal where Minnesota basically traded out of 105 for 4 late firsts, and then Falcons turned around and traded back up to 106 with he traded up to 104 with the Washington Redskins. So the Redskins traded up to 104. So he traded out of 104 and into 105. Falcons did. Other than that, the only other draft trade has been Green Bay here.
Okay.
I think we can talk I messaged Giants to see where he's at. He was another one that was. He wasn't as long
the picks in.
as the other guys. Oh, is it? Look at this
Yeah.
shit. I get ready to shit talk on people, and then they make the pick. So
He takes Lamar Jackson
wow.
at 108.
So Eric, now that he's gone, Eric is the third pony in the Lamar Jackson race, or whatever you want to call it, that has been going on in our other leagues. Between Eric, myself, and Mike, who he hopped off. I don't know if something happened there or he disconnected. Are extremely high on Lamar Jackson. Really like Lamar Jackson. Eric already has 2 shares of Lamar Jackson. I have a share where I took him at 101, not 101 overall in a draft, but quarterback 1, in a super flex league. So I mean, it was up there. It was high. It was a high pick. So I thought maybe at 110, Lamar Jackson would be in consideration for you, Eric, as Sam Bradford's your only quarterback. But now with Lamar Jackson being gone, we've also, with our schedule, we ran into a scheduling issue because the IT guy couldn't figure that out either, where we kind of had to nix the bye weeks that match up. So maybe Josh Allen is not as enticing now because you don't get that bye week alignment. But was any part of you thinking Lamar Jackson, or are you set in what you want to do there at 110?
Yeah, so I hate Josh Allen. I fucking hate Josh Allen. I will not be taking Josh Allen. For anyone that's trying to trade up to get Josh Allen, you don't have to worry about trading with me. I hate him. So just go ahead and try to trade with the guy after me. So, yeah, Lamar Jackson was my only hope of getting off this Bradford train, but now that he's gone, all aboard. Let's go Cardinals. Let's go Sam Bradford. I'm taking a running back at 10. It's confirmed.
Well, there you go. So I figured that's how that was going to go. And so while that happened, our IT guy did hop in. Jeremy is here. He's still at work, so I don't know. He flicked me off, so there must be no kids there. So I was going to say we might need to keep it PG-10 or however old his kids are there, in case we're coming out of the speakers on his computer. But he is there. He looks like he's got his glasses on, much like I have mine on, so it looks like he's still working. And then Brian of the Atlanta Falcons has hopped back on and rejoined us here. So I don't think Jeremy can talk right this second. I think he's just kind of listening in.
No, I can talk.
Oh, do you want to talk your trade? Because I think that's one of the bigger surprises that nobody was expecting. Because I was talking about random ass people that were online that possibly could make a trade, and I didn't even think about you making a trade, and you made the trade.
I wasn't planning on it until he started posting in the chat saying to the people right after him. I didn't think there was anything I could offer to move up that high. I wanted Chubb. I wanted him the whole time, but I'd never thought it was going to be possible. I didn't think I had enough to pay for it. But Lions went for it. And I have another second. I listened to a little bit of when you guys were talking about it. So I still have a second round pick from somebody.
And you have the high third round comp, well, which is essentially a late third, but it's still a nice pick to have. So I think you still have options
here. So that kind of sucks. But this year I feel pretty good about it. Especially since my Hyde contract, he's got one more year. So if the Browns don't let him walk and they keep him, whatever, I can let him walk, and then I don't have to pay that $16 million. So I think all in all, I came out ahead. I'm not sure why Lions didn't want that pick. He didn't really explain to me why he wanted out of it. But I wasn't going to argue with him. So.
Yes. I think, I don't know did you hear where Eric was like, you seem to be a little more or a little bit more like all in this particular league. Have you noticed that? Is that something that
what do you mean?
Kind of just has happened.
You should go
for with the big time trade. At least I think it's a big time trade for you. I think I'm lagging a little bit. My mouth moves before my words come out.
Just a tiny bit.
I kind of look at this league similar to like how D96 was. not with all the shittiness, but with how the window to win is like we're literally limited to these 4-year contracts or sometimes with a 5th-year option. But like I don't really see too much of the tanking being. I hate to tank. I mean, you guys all know me in however many leagues. I don't really like to tank. The only league I think I've done it in is Game of Thrones, and that's just because I'm bad in that league. So it just happens that I tank all the time over there. So yeah, I like to compete, and so this league, like I was content. I even planned out my cap space for all the picks that I already had, but then the chance for Chubb to pair with Hyde, because without that, all I had was Hyde and a bunch of third stringers. So that was always going to be a weak point in my roster. So it made sense to make that move. I don't know.
Definitely seemed like the right choice for me, especially with the value you gave up. I think it was a very solid value trade for you. I think if you didn't make that trade, I'd be more concerned about the value of that pick next year. But given the fact that you've now basically locked in having at least a startable running back, because if for some reason like Chubb came in and just blasted Hyde out of the water, you'd be fucked. But now that you have both Chubb and Hyde, even if one of them falters or like they go by running back by committee or just the hot hand deal, then you have at least one of the two of them will be startable every week. Which really
best ball makes it really nice too, because even if one of them just happens to have a great game, or whichever one happens to get into the end zone, I best ball, so I don't have to choose which one to start every week. That's what makes it really nice.
Which helps.
Yeah, and I think you'll get points from both of them. So I think they're both going to be solid options.
Yeah, I feel good about it. We'll see, like week 2, if I regret my life because I'm so invested in Cleveland, which we know always works out well for people.
Well, we're both in that train now, so you won't be alone.
I'm gonna 49ers is on the clock. Like I said, it's probably almost now 3 o'clock in Afghanistan. Or no, they're at half. So it's 2:30. So I'm gonna call him on Snapchat.
Call him live
and wake him up.
I'm trying to keep the contracts updated, by the way, as we go along.
Yeah, I noticed that. I appreciate it. Have you noticed that there's like, I don't know, it might be my computer because now I just noticed there's a little bit of a lag between my mouth and the sound. But when I click on the teams that the players are not, like, they're not there.
I have to refresh every time I load up the players page.
So I don't know what's going on. It's stupid. So I don't know what that deal is. So if anybody else is experiencing that same problem, just refresh it and hopefully that fixes it for you. Just looking, Jacksonville's online, Atlanta's online, the Jets are online. So the Jets did update their trade bait. I would imagine he's trying to come up. He's got DeAndre Hopkins in his trade bait, looking for multiple players and picks. Bengals has his 114 he just put on the trade block. So those are new developments in the last say hour or so. I don't know how long I've been on here. It's probably been too long already. So I rang him on Snapchat. We'll see if he hops on. It's worked for me in the past where he's just kind of a light sleeper, I guess. I don't know. So we'll see if I can get a hold of him. Other than that, things to follow along so far today. The other option, the other thing I want to talk about, commission. I put the waiver claims thread up because Chargers dropped the first player today that I thought was worth something. So he dropped Josh Malone. Eagles dropped Colby Listenby. Vikings did a ton of work today. I don't know. That's a massive cap hit.
Nobody's gone for Lynch yet.
Paxton Lynch, Trevor Siemian, Jamal Charles, Jeremy Langford, and Brandon Marshall, the wide receiver, have all been dropped, and then the Bengals dropped Jordan Payton. So those guys have been dropped to make room. If you want to make a claim on those guys, I've put the thread up there. The directions folder in there. It's 72 hours. It's not like a first come first serve thing. There's an actual tie-breaking scale there, so don't freak out as long as you're in that 72-hour window. As long as you kind of meet the qualifications there, you'll have a chance to play. Other than that, I don't know. I don't know who's still with us here. I gotta pop back over to the screen and see, because people keep coming in and out.
You, Jeremy, myself.
My shit is laggy as hell. Who's on the far left? Oh,
Falcon's
Brian.
here.
It's weird to me,
Okay.
Eric and Matt on podcast at the same time, because I don't think I've ever been on the same one with you, both of you, and you guys are like identical on the little thumbnail. Like if
You want to
Eric
see
took
it really
glasses off,
creepy?
I would think. Like I need the little over there.
Is he gonna get a hat and glasses?
Oh,
Is that where this is going? He comes back with a hat and glasses. I'm getting him. You know who else we need on? We need to get. I think
he's gonna connect on his phone.
It doesn't matter. Is there a way I can refresh my feed without effing this whole thing up, or am I just gonna have to deal with this?
I think that disconnects everyone. 'Cause you're the host, but you can connect on another device.
What, Eric?
I'm in a part with shitty connection, so I'm going to be gone for 5 minutes.
All right, we'll see ya.
Matt's gonna do all this work to put the glasses in.
He's gonna be gone.
I'm still leaving it on, but I'm just going to be in and out.
That's fine. So Brian, welcome back. I don't know where you went. You disappeared. Now you're back. Any thoughts? We talked briefly. Packers is with us. He hopped on here. We talked briefly about his trade, and with you making a similar jump from the bottom tier of the draft to that what is top 6 pick. Do you like his deal better than the deal you got, or do you think they're similar, or what?
I think it had to do with trade partners. I think Mike is not to say anything bad about Nick, but I think Mike is a little more of a strong arming kind of guy. He's going to stick to his guns on the price of things, and because that's the counter that I got from Mike, and I didn't feel like pushing it any further with the deal, giving up those 2 lates and then the 2 next year. So I like Jeremy's deal a lot more, and maybe if I was a little more patient, that would have been something I would have tried to do too. But when I saw the trade after I checked my email, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense for Jeremy. That's like a perfect move. And I didn't think about it. I heard some of you talking about it. You didn't think it was going to happen or that was a likely trade candidate, but actually seeing it happen, you kind of clicked and think, oh yeah, that makes total sense. And the price, I think that's way doable.
Well, see, your deal made me think I was never going to be able to pull it off, because it's like that's the price that these
good for first.
I don't have the capital to pay for this. But just throwing out that group me message that never know.
Mm-hmm. And I even threw things out because I know Philly was trying to shop the 101, and I think everyone knew that he was probably looking for the largest haul of all time to get something out of that. But I just threw him a measly. I thought it was probably a really low end trade. But I thought, what if he's really desperate to get out of it and doesn't want that pick at all? And you could land Barkley or something. But yeah, so I thought it was a really good trade for Jeremy's sake.
Does this make it easier for you, Jeremy?
No, that doesn't make it any better. Now all 3 of us have the big dark glasses.
What's up?
Does this make it easier to distinguish us now?
Well, you need a hat, and you need to go get.
No, he took his hat off.
He took his hat off. Now you need to go out to your car.
Ah, true. Let me just take my PC, both my desktops, my keyboard and mouse, out to my car in the rain. We'll be good.
Perfect.
Those are killing me.
So would there have been a difference to you, Brian, for you went up to 105, Jeremy traded into 107? Yes, Jeremy? 107?
106.
So would there have been much of a difference there for you in preference? Would you say you were stuck on that 105, or would you taken the 107 and taken a different player other than Geis?
I mean, to move back another spot, knowing that Redskins was going to trade with me to get a quarterback, all likelihood, I still would have probably had the option of Geis or Chubb at the 106. So I probably wouldn't have felt anything in terms of a real loss of value, because we talked about my struggle with between the two. I think just the price that Jeremy paid was way better, way better than what I gave up. And I know I'm going to kick myself for it, but I felt I needed to be aggressive to get back up, just from the standpoint that it was made available, those picks. I didn't even think those picks were going to be made available, just from the standpoint of what was
absolutely
what was there at the 101 or 102 to 110. All those picks in there could have been, running back and quarterbacks that just felt like people weren't really going to want to move out of those. So I didn't think it was going to be likely that people were going to move up. I even, while going through all these trade proposals, was thinking, do I even really want to move out of the 104? Am I going to miss my chance on a better offensive player and to be stuck with two or three picks in the back end of the first, where I might be getting a marginal role player for a few seasons? I just didn't know. But Jeremy, hats off to you for getting that, because that's really great.
Thanks.
Yeah, and so Lions just added me here with his deal, because we've been kind of talking about why certain teams are doing some of these deals, and he's the the trade partner with Jeremy here, and Jeremy also said he didn't talk much about what the thought process behind Lions making that deal was, and he just kind of noted here that his roster needs help all over. He's looking for bodies, and the extra picks that Jeremy provided him are going to help him get that, whether they're high picks or not so high picks, just that additional players, additional value there, or the chance to where he can actually hit, increase his chances of hitting on a player, is why he did that deal. And I also want to comment on hitting on a player. Down the road, these deals can look. I mean, right now his looks significantly better than not significantly, but it just looks better than what yours.
No, it's significant. Yours. Just draft capital wise, it is significant in terms of what he gave up.
Well, it won't matter. It won't matter if you hit on your guy and his guy does absolutely nothing. Because if his guy does nothing, the deal looks terrible for him.
Well, it's also
he's had a tendency
to
not hit on players.
Well, it's also the standpoint of what Mike turns those players into. So, he's got less draft capital to worry about what he gave up to get. I gave up 4 first-round picks in over 2 years, and if Mike turns those into really quality defensive players and some really good offensive players, it looks even worse from my standpoint. I'm just trying to estimate, and it kind of sucks that it's the first year and I really have nothing to base any of these valuations on. But if it was year 4 or year 3 where we saw 1 or 2 draft classes go through, I could probably assess the value. I think we'll all assess the value of these draft picks a little bit better in terms of what players go where and what you're really looking for.
Yeah. I'm gonna see if I can grab Redskins here, and let him talk his trade and pick real quick. I also just keep spamming the group with the video to watch, because I think there's a lot of good stuff being said, a lot of good stuff going on here. And I think we're going to – I don't know if I got a response back from 49ers.
And the join link. Let anybody jump in if they want to.
Because I'm trying to control it so that I don't have 8 people on at one time, because I think that'll –
War's going to kill us.
It'll fry somebody. It'll fry somebody's motherboard, and then the IT guy won't be able to fix it. So I'm just trying to make sure that we don't get overloaded. And then what tends to happen is when you have a shit ton of people is that I'll talk over people, and then certain people don't talk for a while. Well, it doesn't matter. Other people just need to know to just keep talking because I'm going to just talk regardless. But sometimes some other people, if we get too many people on, we end up with too many people, too many voices, too many mouths to feed. And so now that the Matt of the Chargers has hopped off, he's going to run and do his home league draft. He might be on later if we're still going live. I think he's in here. Yeah, Ian is in here. So I'm just a little slow. I don't know why my stuff lagging a little bit, but my bar says that Ian is in here.
I am in here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. So this is the Washington
Okay.
Redskins owner. Ian, so thoughts on first the trade process that you went through to acquire the 104, and then tell us about the pick.
Well, during the original startup, the quarterbacks were going a little pricey for me, and I didn't want to spend, $17 million on like guys like Mahomes who are backups and had no idea what they're going to be like. So my original thought was I'll just skip on QBs. I think I picked up Petty and Hackenberg for somewhat cheap. Hey, if they hit, they hit. If not, then whatever. I'll pick one up in the draft, thinking that I'll end up tanking. However, my team, like the Jets, overperformed, and I think I almost won the division with no starting quarterback. And
yeah, I think it was down to the last week you had a chance.
Yeah. So looking at 117, kind of realizing there's no way a starting quarterback's going to fall unless something happens and someone like Mason Rudolph or something like that, Eli or Big Ben somehow get hurt. I wasn't going to get anything. I kind of figured I needed a quarterback, or this year wasn't going to be good, and the rest of my team was kind of a win now-ish type of thing. So I started asking people at the top of the draft if they were interested in trading back. Try to do something with the Chargers, and I got something with the Falcons as well. But sent out some offers, got some feelers, came back. Falcons countered me with an offer, and kind of went from there. I was offering to give up all my picks and plus more to move up. So I was okay with giving up picks because I figured I needed the QB more than anything in the later rounds. But, and then I had some excess defensive ends with Wilkerson and Ingram. So I could give up Ngakwe, I think it's pronounced.
I have no idea. I just went with his first name. I'm not even going to attempt that.
Ngakwe. But, so
like
I figured moving to 3, I figured I'd get 4. I figured Barkley would go 1-1, and I'd have my choice of Mayfield, Rosen, or Darnold. And when Darnold was the only one left, it was an easy decision. And then it just so happened the Jets also drafted him, so that made it a little easier as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Was that the decision? If you had,
if both
if you were 102
Baker
and, they were all
and Darnold, if they were all there, I don't know. I was debating if Chargers traded back or if he selected a running back. I think I was talking with Falcons a bit about who he'll take, and I think we both decided he'd probably take a quarterback, but there's a pretty good chance he'd take a running back. So I was talking with a couple of people trying to get thoughts and debating on if both Darnold and Mayfield are there, who I should take, and I think it ended up being Darnold would have been the pick anyway, just because I have Mayfield in a couple other leagues. So I kind of wanted Darnold some leagues just to spread out, but pick was made for me, and I was not picking up Allen, especially at 4. So pick was kind of made for me with Darnold, so we'll see how he turns out.
Yeah, so I think that made it just a slam dunk pick for you with the fact that he was a Jet and he was the one that was available there, the last of that top tier quarterbacks. I don't know. I didn't look to see if you have any other picks or how many other picks you gave up. But when we did discuss that trade, it was myself and Brian of the Falcons, and Brian's still here. I think we both came away that it was a deal that made sense for both teams. You absolutely needed the quarterback, and I'm not sure if you did last year, but there were a couple, like I think Jay Cutler got floated around for a little bit, and I was like, oh, I wonder if he's going to jump on Jay Cutler, because I think for a while you were winning the division, and then Cowboys caught you at the end there, obviously because you didn't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
But so there were some times last year where I was like, oh, if he grabbed a quarterback, he's going to be an easy playoff contender. And so right along with what you said, basically to do, and now I'm clicking on your freaking roster and the quarterback's not here. So basically do whatever needs to be done on your end to get that quarterback, which I think you did and did relatively well. But then if you do have, I'm trying to look, I don't know why. All right, there goes, he loaded finally. Now I have to see if you have any picks.
I have a second. That's it this year.
Okay, and so you still do have an option to either pick at that selection or trade back to get a couple more picks. But even then, there aren't too many holes on your team. Looking at it, tight end is probably the biggest.
Tight end and running back are probably the two holes now. I think running back I can get by with Breida and Bernard. Tight end, I think the Saints drafted a tight end, right?
A late one, I think.
Yeah, so
I think it was
maybe
GMS.
Fleener can still salvage it, and then the Jets like to leg it, but we'll see now because they just drafted someone as well, so we'll see how that plays out. But
Right.
yeah, those are probably the two holes I have now. As for getting quarterbacks this past season, I think I was looking into it, but I think it was a combination of I was winning games without him, like without a quarterback, and I think Jay Cutler, the trade was what? Did he go for like a first or something like that?
He went for multiple firsts last
I
year.
don't remember. I thought he went cheaply and then he went for a shit ton.
Well,
I can't remember.
His salary was cheap. I think he was picked up for I think the league minimum.
Okay, that's what it was.
And he might have got traded for cheap before the season, and once he got picked up by the Dolphins, it skyrocketed. And at that point, I was kind of like, I'm not going to pay a first for Jay Cutler when I'm winning games without a quarterback. But then this year, I was looking, I didn't necessarily want to give up a first next year, but the way I saw it, if I don't give up a first next year, then, the whole point of this year is kind of done. I don't think I could even compete for the division a second time without a quarterback. So I figured I'll make my move this year, try and get some competitiveness in. And, of course, that's if Darnold even starts this year. We'll see how that plays out. But he'll probably start toward the end of the year. Maybe he'll come in for the playoff push.
Well, it's a good follow-up question before you finish, Mr. Ian. Do you think you're going to be interested in getting McCown now that you have Darnold?
I mean, for the right price, I'll take anyone. But I don't know what maybe I'll just get McCown and I'll get Teddy as well, just so I can load up on the Jets quarterbacks again. I think I had two of them last year. So maybe I'll get all four this year.
We don't have to worry about what's his face.
Petty's on the Dolphins now, which I guess is making up for when they sandwiched him a couple years ago. They're we feel bad about absolutely killing you, so we'll sign you for a couple years or a year. I didn't see what the deal was, but
yeah, I'm not sure what the deal is, but I know he ended up in Miami. Eric, what are you eating?
I wish him luck, but not for at least 2 games. If he can go off against the Bills and the Patriots, that's fine. But besides that,
Yeah, exactly. Eric is shoving something in his mouth and it's distracting me, so I have to. It's almost like he got in his car and drove to like a Red Lobster and is sitting down for dinner. I don't know.
That'd be amazing.
So he's got what? I don't know what is that? Homemade
it's
pizza?
Just some homemade chicken parm. It's not fried. It's just
chicken parm.
Baked chicken with marinara sauce and mozzarella cheese on top. But yeah, no, I just got home from work. I needed to eat something, but I wanted to hear you guys, so I've been muting my mic and listening for the most part.
Oh, all right. I looked up and saw you were chomping down on something like.
Well, in between bites here, let me say something. Of course, I get stuck behind the guy in Afghanistan. I'm gonna fucking sit here for 10 hours while I wait for him to pick. This is frustrating. I
Yeah,
love him. I love him, by
okay.
the way. I know who he is, but God,
and I
Wood took
wish he would've
however long
pre-drafted
in
him.
doubles.
Yeah, I wish I would. Well, it's not the same person. Wood's not in
No,
Afghanistan.
I know. No, I know. I'm just saying, Woad took however long in the doubles draft, holding that up for a while.
Yeah,
I think he was a half hour from timing out. So
he's
Was
it
he really?
sucks.
I missed that.
He was. It was. I know it gave a warning at an hour and a half, and I think it was at least a half hour after that when he picked.
He's trolling.
oh boy. So yeah, he didn't respond to my Snapchat. I sent him a thing on Snapchat to get him. So he's not around. But
Like 2 years ago, you woke him up in the middle of the night. How'd you do that?
I called him on Snapchat.
Oh, okay.
And so he popped up. So we'll see, because obviously you can't call a cell phone over there. But for some reason his Snapchat works, so I called him on Snapchat. But he should check in. He usually, I don't know if he doesn't sleep a whole lot or what the deal is. But I'd imagine that he's either going to check in shortly, or Eric might be waiting 4 hours, so we might not be getting to that pick on here. I don't know where Eric stuck his phone, but I guess he wanted us to look at the flowers as he disappeared there. But I don't know. I put up 49ers roster, I think. No, this is Ian still. My bad.
Same colors.
Yeah. So, because I started to talk about yours. The tight end hole, definitely. The running, I mean, everybody's short running backs, honestly, and I don't know that there's much you can do about that. One of the pluses with your team is that it's got the solid structure. You've now got the quarterback. You do have the 2 running backs. You do have. I don't know who has. I'll have to look at wide receiver depth, but you do have, barring Robbie Anderson, getting any kind of major suspension. You do have a good bit.
4 games.
Yeah, you do have a good bit of wide receiver depth there, which is really nice. You've got a stud D tackle. You've got still really good defensive ends, and for some reason, Yannick still shows up on my roster. I don't know why MFL is so behind.
It doesn't show up on mine.
Yeah, it's I just have to upload it. I just have to upload it or refresh it again. Then he disappears. Okay, at linebacker, you're going to need some corners, but those are guys you can grab off of free agency once you figure out which ones are scoring points and which ones aren't. And then you've got 2 safeties there. So the plus to all this is you only got 26 players rostered. You do have that second-round pick. I don't know. I can't imagine it being that much money. So I would say that you probably will still have about $10 million to spend to fill out what will be 13 roster spots. You don't have to fill it all, but obviously you be able to add your depth there. Like you probably grab a D tackle, another corner or 2. I don't know if there's going to be any running backs left to take a stab, but there might be. So I think it's all good things, and I think you, much like what's his name, Brian, have put yourselves in position to. Whoops, my computer first. To be contenders in your division, and most likely, I can't remember. I'm trying to pull up to see what teams are in Brian's division, but contenders in that division. Now with some of the moves that you guys have made in the offseason and then early in the draft this year.
Yeah, that was another thing when I was trading up. It was okay. I can sit where I am and maybe get a wide receiver, a defensive player, which I thought I had pretty good depth at, or a flyer at running back. Someone a second string that could possibly get opportunity, something like that. So I figured I had to make some type of move anyway, because 2 biggest holes on the team were quarterback and running back. So I had to move up. And I figured if I'm moving up, I might as well move all the way up. But, I'll probably see about who's there at the end of the second. That's kind of why I wanted to get a second in on that deal. Originally, I didn't have to give up as much, and that second wasn't there. So it was a nice little counter for that. But Yeah, just trying to see who falls to me at the end of the second there. It's definitely going to be interesting. One with 32 teams in a single copy, it kind of messes all draft boards up, and then throw in IDPs and guys that are, third round, could be first round guys, or could stay in, third. I don't even know. This is the first league I've done like this, of this size and scope. So I have no idea how this draft's going to play out. I can't even really. I can mock the first couple picks, but besides that, I have no idea how anything's going to play out.
Yeah, and Brian and I earlier had discussed that once that first IDP guy goes, I mean, I don't know where it goes. I think it's going to go to Brian. I don't think he's going to show his cards yet, but I think it's 17 to Brian. It makes a lot of sense for a certain defensive player to go there. But I think once that first one goes, then the draft, it's just going to be, I think it'll be not panic's not the right word, but in the IDP from this group, there's definitely a top tier of high linebackers. We were talking about the DN. There's really only one in that top tier of defensive players. So I think once that first D guy goes, then that whole top, echelon of defensive players is just going to be gone. I think it's just going to be like boom, 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 and you're going to see teams taking those guys. And once that happens, it's going to be all over the place. Because then you also have to realize that I said it earlier when I was on by myself. Not that this is a super flex league, but there's a lot of super flex value in the quarterbacks at the position. We'll still have guys like Kyle Aletta,
I
Mike White,
like a 2 QB league value for quarterbacks.
Mike White, exactly. Mason Rudolph's there, and then so those guys are going to go, I think, substantially earlier than what they would in a standard draft. So.
I think I wasn't the only team that didn't even have a starting quarterback this past year.
Why are there two Erics?
Oh my God!
I mean, that's like my favorite part about this league. Of all the million leagues that we're in, this is the most true to theme, I think, about mimicking what it's like for an NFL GM. Like the draft is so much. I predict is going to be so much closer to actual NFL draft. Like I love Ian talking about how his team was performing last year, even though that wasn't what he wanted. Because he made that Jets comparison. I was like, that's so perfect. Because in real life, the Jets GM was like, God damn it, we were supposed to lose this year. but the players don't care. They perform. And so I love that our format kind of makes those situations happen where people have to make these deals. So that's just and the QB prices and everything. I love this league. It's probably my favorite league. I'm going to say that. I think I even like this league more than GOT.
I thought you said God, and then I was like, take me easy.
This league is great, how value and how crazy it is, but I mean, it's so complicated that you gotta just really figure everything out in order, or you'll be lost. Like I've stumbled through this league at times, and then I've been like, okay, hold on, what am I doing here? Let's try and figure this out.
Yeah, well, I think that's gonna be one of the nice things about it is once we get into which is again why I'm tentative to change a whole bunch of shit, big time shit. The minor things like the schedule that we unfortunately had to change because the IT guy couldn't get it done. Something else that we had to change. Oh, the comp picks, doing that. Just kind of getting it to where people know what to expect, because then once that happens and everybody knows what they need to do, I think it can be really fun. Because there's a ton of different there's more strategies that can be played in this league than I think in any other league, simply because Redskins that is proved last year that you could win without a quarterback. I think Chiefs did the same thing until he got one of his butt fuck stab in the dark quarterbacks, ended up playing games at the end of the season. That he proved that he could win games without a quarterback. I think Raiders was winning a couple games there. He went on a stretch without a quarterback. There are teams that went top heavy that that the Buccaneers did. I didn't think that was going to work at all. I didn't think spending, I don't know, when he spent $60 million or something more than, it might have been way more than $60 million on running back out of the startup. I thought that was never gonna. I was like, oh, this guy, well, he has no idea what he's doing. But that worked out for him. Then there were teams that sat there quietly, like the Bears, and just kind of added depth at quality prices, and that worked out for him. And that's just to name a few. Like there's, and we'll see even more, because we'll see the teams that are now dedicated to not forever, but for the long-term build. Like we saw, Mike was on here for a little bit and talked about how he's obviously not going to win. His team sucked last year. He obviously was not going to win this year, and so he's going to have to go for 2019 is where he's actually going to be able to start to build his team to make it to where it can actually progress to something better than what it currently is. So you see that, but then you also see teams where some of these bad teams are just going to not get any better. But I don't think we've seen that yet. I don't know if we've seen that yet, because all of the teams that are in a pretty bad spot, need bodies, need players, have some pieces here, made a trade back to acquire more players and more talent that I think ultimately will make their teams better in the long run than it will be to take just that one elite player.
Lewis, I think somebody's at your door.
That wasn't my door.
Oh, shit.
Let me check my door.
You're going to bring us with you? Oh,
well, he has his headphones on.
I can't really leave.
That's why I said everybody's got headphones on, so nobody knows whose door it was. But I heard it was somebody's door. It's not mine. I have a buzzer.
I don't see anyone.
Think it was mine, but I just got up from work. I ain't fucking answering it.
Screw you, person at the door. It's definitely the Publishers Clearinghouse telling you you've won. They got the balloons and everything, and you're just like, fuck you.
It's the 21st century. Anyone that needs you will just call you.
Probably Obama. His car broke down outside. He's going to be like, hey, can I stop in? Use your phone?
I'm going to find... Dude, I F this up every time when I try to add people. We're going to see. I'm going to grab somebody, and I'm not going to hop off because I'll leave this up, but I'm going to get up for a second.
Any news on 49ers yet?
I'll check my phone, but I'm going to grab I think the Bears want to hop on.
Goose?
And so Goose, like I said, doesn't have very many good points. He did have one in his trade bait that we start 2 defensive ends, so that was very good observation for him.
Doesn't have many good points. Only one fucking league.
He I don't know if he has any first-round picks. I don't think he does. He was like me. He traded them all to go all in for last year. He has a couple of comp picks. Maybe he'll get on and try to sell those comp picks for players or picks next year. But I'm trying to find him, and here we go. So we'll see if he wants to hop on. Other than that, I don't know.
He raises which we can ask Brian about, because Brian's trying to add a free agent. I guess we can sign free agents, right?
Not right now. You shouldn't be. Did I not lock it?
Falcons is trying to add Blake Jarwin.
Yeah, I just went through and was able to. I probably fucked everything up. I added people while we were talking.
Yeah, I was supposed to close it. I thought I locked it, but I guess I didn't. So we'll see.
Why though? I mean, NFL can sign free agents during the.
Oh, my bad. I thought he meant he wanted to join the podcast, not join the fucking loser. Whoops.
Is he trying to join your other league?
I thought he just meant can you add people to the podcast? And so I sent him the link to the podcast. He's talking about the freaking league. He's talking about the freaking league right now. So I guess I'll fix that. It is supposed to close for bylaws and for what I want, but I just didn't.
Let me know how bad everything got fucked up because of me. So
I'll look at it. I haven't. My MFL is. I don't know if I need to restart my. I've had my browser thingy, or what are those things called? Read. The tabs. My tabs at the top have been open for a while because I've been designing my website, and so I'm scared to close out of those, so they've been open for a while, which is why there's 3 or 4 of them there. I probably have to reload my browser, which is why it's laggy. But I don't even my thing doesn't show that there's any transactions, so I have no idea. But we'll fix those. I'll just reset them. It's not a big deal. Other than that, I don't know if there's anything we want to talk about, particularly that you guys want to. Oh yeah, I see you added these 3 guys. Yeah, I'll just reverse those. It's no big deal. And we'll get that taken care
Eric,
of.
why are you in twice again? Stop that shit.
That's not Eric. That's Eric and Matt.
Yeah. Matt went and got a blue shirt.
I don't know. I freaking locked all players, so I don't know how that happened. But oh well. Yeah,
I think you only locked the people that were dropped.
Oh, I thought I hit the locked all free agents last night. I did it. I actually did it early because I'd rather be like, oh, too bad, than have to forget about it. So
that's his routine in bed too.
Okay, I'm gonna unplug your computer. Yeah, so we'll get that fixed. I don't know if there's anything else. We talked about the schedule briefly. I want to real quick hit the comp picks, which I think everybody but Falcons. Well, Falcons and Redskins, I think you guys don't have any. So
yeah, I didn't get any.
4 that didn't have.
Oh my God, Eric, are you serious?
I'm not even looking at the stream to see what's
his microphone.
No, my computer is being so shitty.
Yeah, you're on here twice.
You're on here twice, and you just shoved your microphone through your beard into your mouth. What the hell?
Anyways, can I like lock one of these? See what that does. Anyways, I just ejected Eric's second copy from the chat here. So the comp picks, I did. So good. I did comp. There's 66 of them between the end of the 3rd and the end of the 5th round. Some teams have multiple, some teams don't have any. It's whatever. The order is on the message board thread. I also created custom players, so you have one there. So if you'd like to trade them, because Chicago needed his handheld, couldn't figure out a creative way to trade those without having a tangible asset to trade. So I jumped on this afternoon and created those. So those are there. I'm going to edit the bylaws. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to edit them. So if at any point you end up in the draft where you don't want to pick, you need to announce the pick ahead of time. Like if you want to skip your 4th round pick, you need to tell me ahead of time you want that pick skipped. Once you go on the clock, you're on the hook for the price. I'm not going to do
trade me the pick. I'll take it.
I'm not going to do this where you get on at 411. Pick 411 and you sit there for 10 hours and then realize that you don't want anybody and say just skip me. If that happens, you're getting charged the 4-year whatever the salary cap is.
With that information, yes.
And you're getting it in. Did you?
No, I'm asking you if you're going to send it.
No, I will. So we'll do that. We'll get that out there. But if you get it ahead of time, I'll skip it free charge, no nothing, no issues. We'll just skip it. But once you skip it, you can't take it back and be like, oh, you know what, I want to trade this. There's no dice on that. So get it to me ahead of time. Once you're on the clock, you're on the hook for the once MFL says you're on the clock, you're on the hook for the pick. I think that's fair. I think that's the easiest way to do that. Because that way it'll keep people from sitting on the clock to trade the pick. It'll keep people from sitting on the clock and decide they don't want the pick. I think that's the best way to handle that. And then in the future, we won't have as many comp picks. I don't think. I'm going to strict in the requirements there. Currently, there's too many comp picks for too many players that didn't do enough. I'm going to have to do a couple of positions are going to have to be positionally. Like I'm just going to have to do QB positional, an own thing for the QBs, and own thing for the tight ends. because those guys, there were tight ends that were in the top 75 that scored like 20 points. So I'm gonna eliminate those guys, and maybe only chop up tight end QB. I don't know if there's any other position, maybe D tackle differently, so that we don't get too many picks for guys that don't really matter. And then I'm going to make it so that they've got to make more money than what they did on their previous deal and some other things. So they don't have to deal with that. Eric, why do you keep joining? Are you joining on a different computer?
Listen, I'm trying to get my computer working, but you booted me and it lagged up the whole fucking thing, so I couldn't get back in on my computer because I was trying to switch off my mobile so I could charge my phone because I just drained my battery.
This sounds like an IT problem. Can I kick this other one or no?
It should leave in a second. I just closed the app on my phone.
Okay. If only we had an IT guy that was capable of fixing IT problems. So the time difference is two hours from here to New Mexico, or yes? No? 3? How many hours is New Mexico?
2.
We're mountain time, so compared whatever.
So what is it, 4:35 there?
Yes.
Is there a reason you're still there?
Because my duty day.
What is that, detention?
No. Most teachers are out like watching kids and stuff, but I'm not allowed to leave.
What?
5 minutes.
Isn't school over?
Like 5 minutes.
So school's not over yet.
It's over, but I can't leave.
I would have been out. What time does it end? 3? I'd have been out the door 3:05.
Oh no. 3:40 is when classes end.
Oh, I'd have been out the door at 4. I'd have been out before 4. Ours is like no, I just brain farted. 2:40. I'm out the door. If it's past 2:50, I'm late. I'm out within 10 minutes. I'm out the door. You're crazy, man. Ian has a little Batman.
Really talk to you guys.
Or
Sorry.
he probably was doing extra help, helping his students like a good teacher, not just showing movies every day.
He wasn't doing any help. He's been sitting in the same. He hasn't moved. I don't even know what he's doing.
I don't know. Maybe there's something else off screen. I don't know.
He's not working. He's probably just doing all his computer stuff.
Whatever.
Yeah, see, he's working. He's grading stuff.
Yeah, there's an easy solution. Have them do it. Hand them back a red pen. Hand them back somebody else's paper.
Just make everything Scantrons. Feed it in
a HIPAA violation, Lewis.
No, it's not.
Their names on.
I just go through the guys and go, I don't like this kid. 3 out of 10. I like this kid.
That's on your rubric, right? Like
that's how I can bring in a snack.
Don't give him any tests. There you go. Easy.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm guessing we're going to be stalled out here for 4 hours until it's at least a decent time for the 49ers. So I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to talk about. I don't know if we want to talk about maybe run through the next couple of picks, but I'm going to hop and take care of some things because I've obviously been down here for 3 hours.
That person who rang his doorbell is still waiting.
No. If my thing went, the dog would go. My cat would come running, the dog would come running. So, well, not through here, but you would hear the dog. But Chelsea came in, I don't know, probably an hour and a half, almost 2 hours ago, and I still haven't said hi to her. So,
who? Chelsea?
Yes, my girlfriend.
Chelsea. That's a weird name. Chelsea.
Yeah, it's just Chelsea. I don't say the E.
That is a weird way to pronounce Swan. I don't know what you're talking about.
She's not in this league, or I'd give her a shout out. And then I've got to figure out something for dinner.
She was in this league. She was the Panthers, and then she backed out.
Yeah, I'm so glad that she did. It would have been too much for her to handle.
Yeah, she can barely keep up with
I'm not talking about the league. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, I think we've got – we have a running back penciled in for 49ers here.
So let me ask this since we have Eric. Eric, you are guaranteed at a running back. Is there one that you prefer out of your spot?
I mean, I don't want somebody to trade up if I say it, so I'm not going to say it. But I will say I'm interested in one of them.
One of which ones?
One of the top ones.
Those ones are gone.
I disagree. I still have 2 left in my tier. So,
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And like I was telling Lions, who actually offered me a similar deal to whoever wound up taking it to move up. I guess it was you. I said, listen, I have 6 running backs in my second tier after Barkley, of course, and I'm glad I'm not the one that has to decide on which one I want because I don't know which one's better. So I wanted a quarterback, but worst case scenario, I'm getting a running back in that second tier.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt with quarterbacks. Having that decision between Baker and Darnold was kind of tough, but it was happily made for me. So now I can kind of be like, oh, if Darnold busts, everything sucks, but at least I'll be like, oh, well, I didn't choose the wrong one.
Right, and as I said before, this is my I mean, even though Bradford's on a 4-year deal, this is the last year Bradford push. With the way his health is deteriorating, hopefully he fucking retires. That would save me so much.
He's gonna hang around. He's gonna move around.
Yeah, that's the worst case. But luckily, he got a job where he's probably starting week 1, which is great because you know what? I think if he's actually not healthy, he's gonna retire because this is the last chance for him. No one's gonna take a shot on him if he's injured again. I mean, I keep saying that, but he got $20 million. I don't know how the fuck he did it. So somebody else believes in him. It's not just me.
I was gonna say, you don't know how he did it. You're the one who fucking did it. Like you're the 1% of the world who abused it.
He looked so good the year before. To be fair, he looked like the old college Bradford.
All right, guys, I'm gonna start my drive home. But latest.
See you later. So it looks like it's just me and Brian here right now as we still are waiting for the 49ers to draft, who's probably sleeping on a cot in Afghanistan.
Well, what else would he be doing?
I don't know. I don't know what his schedule is like over there. You might get the graveyard shift sometimes.
Who knows? It's Afghanistan. I don't want to go there.
Yeah, I fully agree. Is there a chance 49ers takes a quarterback, or does he have a quarterback?
I mean,
he's got Drew Brees.
Who's left? Allen? I guess he could take Allen.
He's got 3 quarterbacks: Drew Brees, Nick Foles, Chase Daniel.
I mean, Allen is a possibility, but I wouldn't see him taking anyone else but Allen. If he takes Valletta or Mason Rudolph here, that'd be a surprise pick of the draft, I think.
Yeah, it's too early.
And then, I mean, he's not really. I'm pretty sure he didn't have a good draft because, he couldn't for some reason. He was traveling, so he got the tail end of whatever was left. And so he did get T.Y. Hilton, Demaryius Thomas. He also his number 1 running back is Marlon Mack, and after that it's Ivory. So it doesn't look like he has a tight end that's playing this year. His team is in rough shape, so if he's not trading down, I'm sure he's just taking best player available at this point.
Well, he last year he had all his money sucked into running wide receiver and tight end. He had Gronk and Bryant as well, and that all made $50 million total. Counting them all together. So he's made some moves to at least shed some cap, but yeah, I don't know really what he goes for.
I mean, and even looking at his defensive players, his DNs, I mean, he's got Derek Wolfe, who I don't even know if he still has a job or as big of a role over there in Denver now that they have Chubb. And nobody else at DN that really plays. His linebackers are all low-paid, don't play every down linebackers. He's got Rashad Jones on a monster contract. So he's got 2 or 3 viable IDP players, and he's got some offensive players. But he's basically what I'm trying to say is he's a few moves away. You can't say he's a few moves away. He's a lot of moves away from being a competitor. So I don't think it really matters that he has to worry about position at this point in his roster construction.
Yeah, trading back is probably the best bet for him. But we'll see, because it's also how far do you trade back, and if to get multiple picks, you're not really going to get. I don't think you'll get a deal like that you gave Falcons to move to 1-5 with the Vikings, was it?
Yeah.
Too late first. I don't think anyone else is going to really be doing that. So what kind of talent are you going to be getting in the second round, third round? You're going to get some guys, but are they rebuilding guys?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Are they going to be good enough? Like there's not enough teams that have multiple picks in multiple rounds. I think the biggest one's probably to focus on is maybe Oakland, because they have a bunch of second round picks this year. So if you're really looking to maximize your volume, I know maybe the Raiders are looking at trying to consolidate just from the standpoint of how many contract years they sink into one draft class. They'd be a likely trade candidate in my mind.
All right, kind of off topic here, but what beer should I go with? One hoof in front of the other, or I plan on writing an epic poem about this gorgeous IPA?
Oh, man, anything but an IPA for me.
Yeah, I'm not a big IPA guy, but this was highly rated.
Highly rated by who?
Everyone. They're planning on writing an epic poem, so.
Lewis, if you're trying to talk, you're muted, man.
Yeah, I was muted. This is what I've got. So I've got my.
Oh, that sounds good.
This has been my victory, my pack for the last week. So that's what I've been.
All right, I'm gonna go plan on writing an epic poem.
Yes, I was gonna say I liked. They both look good. I like the name of the second one better, but I like the can design of the first one. And so sometimes I shop like that. When I see the can, I get
that is how I shop, and it was. But I wanted between both of these, and I said, "Fuck it, I'm getting both." So
sounds good.
For me, it's always local. Whatever beer is local.
Oh yeah, I try to go local. A lot of New Jersey stuff, New England area. But if there's something crazy that looks crazy, sounds crazy, I'm gonna take a shot on it.
All right, well, here, I got an exercise since we're not really talking about it too much. I'm on the clock in the league that Ian runs, so I'm just going to list the best player available, and you tell me which one you would prefer.
Is this where I'm supposed to be brought in on the decision making?
Me and you are together on this one, but I'm
okay.
I let you pick the last one. It's Marcel.
I know. I did think
Deion Kane. Who else is left here? Ryan Izzo, John Kelly, Kyle Lauletta. It is Superflex.
My league is
Mario Richard. I owned him in a Devi league. Bo Scarborough, Ito Smith, Auden Tate, the Valdez Cantlin guy from Green Bay, Jordan Wilkins, Cedric Wilson.
Was this your last pick?
No, I have plenty of fourths and fifths.
Oh, really? You told me you had no picks.
You guys are in the third round, right?
We had no picks, so I had no idea.
My side is in the fourth.
Yeah,
we're coming up on the fifth. So you guys
let me give the inside scoop to the people listening. Lewis and I, we run two teams, but our points are combined. Lewis and I don't agree on any decision, and we kind of do things in spite of the other. Lewis traded up to the second pick in the draft during the startup and took Dak Prescott, which I didn't even do. So we're kind of.
Didn't you get him at the end of the first round?
I got him at 105, but
because Eric was like the best. I'm the biggest fan of Dak. I went out and paid more than he'd ever paid to get Dak, and then took him.
It's true. I never paid that much for Dak. I never paid for Dak. That's the thing. I've took him in the first round of Superflex drafts towards the end, of the first round. That's it. I've never traded up for him. I took him real late in a couple of drafts, and it really paid off for me. But anyway, those are the guys that were available. Do you guys have a preference there?
Yeah.
I was thinking about drafting Kane, and with my third-round pick, I decided against it just because of how Luck and Brissett and that offensive line. But I thought he would be a good pickup because besides him and T.Y., does Indianapolis have – and Doyle, does Indianapolis have anyone?
Chester.
No,
catch passes?
they don't. Eric, if you go and look at my draft from WWE, you'll get my preference of guys that are in that third, fourth round range. Because the last guy I gave you was your last pick, was my first pick there. And I really like that third round range this year. Or you can check out my Debbie Twitter handle, because I just tweeted out my draft results from WWE.
Here's a plug.
Anyways, I took Callaway in WWE. We took him in this doubles league, and Callaway was my first pick in WWE league at 304 or something like that, 305. So I really like that pick. I followed it up with Deon Kane, Eric.
Yeah, you guys seem
who I like. And then if you're gonna grab Deon Kane, I think a good fourth rounder, or at this point, since I'm saying it out loud, it'd probably have to be an early third now, or late.
I'm not in his draft, and I don't know how many people are listening or in his draft, so it don't matter too much.
But the Fountain guy, I can't remember what his name is. I'm just calling him the Fountain guy. Is a wide receiver the Colts also took. They took him a round ahead of Deon Kane, but between those two, one of them is going to be on the field because the only other wide receiver is Chester Rogers. So one of those two, between Deon Kane and Fountain, is going to get playing time this year. My bet is that it's Deon Kane, but if it's the other guy, you can grab him later too. So if I've been taking Kane, I've been grabbing the Fountain.
Yeah, let's put it this way: the other side of the draft, we're on 412, and Fountain isn't even. I don't even think he was a thought yet.
Yeah, so he's got a fourth round. He's an early fourth round guy for me, especially if you pick up Kane. So, but I don't know much about any of this, so don't listen to me. Let's see. I've got 4 emails. I wonder if any of them are relevant to the NFL GMs. They're all your moves that I have to do. So they are relevant. Those will all be fixed. And then I got an email that I'm on the clock still in my other league. But I don't know what you guys were talking about when I left. I left for 2 seconds. I went outside. It's pouring. I'm soaking wet. It stopped raining now, so had I waited 5 minutes, I would have gotten wet. I got a drink, and I said hello to my girlfriend. But do we want to go through the next couple picks here? I don't know how much longer. Maybe I'll run through the first realistic of what can get picked tonight, and then wrap it up because I've been at this now. I think I started at 3:30 or a little bit before. So I'd like to play Fortnite. Do some other things.
Can we keep this going with random people in here and see if we can keep a live stream going the entire draft?
Wow, that'd be impressive.
Or at least a full 24-hour fantasy marathon like
the version
does on ESPN.
The version of this only lets me stream for 8 hours, so I can only do 8 live hours at a time.
Oh.
So we would have to do, I don't know how many different sessions, and at that point, it took me so long to get into. It would be 3 if we got the whole draft out in 24 hours, but
well, no, just a 24-hour.
Oh yeah, but each time logging in, it is giving me a heartache, or not heartache. It's been a pain. I don't know why I said heartache. It's been a pain because
Jeremy as well.
Jeremy made the login number, the security thing, his house phone number. And so I can't freaking confirm that because it doesn't receive text messages. So every time I log in, I've got to change the password. So as I log in, so it's been quite a pain. But that's all right. Only the IT guy sets the home phone number as the recovery number.
Well, it's not going to be hacked. It's a landline,
Yeah, but you can't send a text message. You can't send. It's like the code will be sent to this number, and it's a home. He put it in. It's a landline, so it doesn't work. I don't know why Jets would totally fall asleep, but that's very nice. I'm not also yelling or jumping around or anything that I typically would do, so that's all right. Anyways, 49ers, I pulled up his roster finally because I've been distracted 500 times. He has
I kind of went through his roster while he went away. Basically, his roster sucks.
Yeah. I think that was the consensus.
He's fine at QB. That's pretty much the only spot where he doesn't need somebody for the time being. But he's so far away that he could still take a quarterback because he's playing for the future.
Right. Well, he doesn't need a wide receiver either, I don't think. T.Y. Hilton, Cody Latimer, Marquise Lee, Marius Thomas, Kamar Aiken, those guys are all fine for best ball. Tight end doesn't have one. The running backs are okay. Not great. Again, nobody has depth. He just doesn't have a stud. Marlon Mack might be that guy this year. So I think maybe I don't know if he still has a late first. If he does, I would consider using it on Naheem Hines and getting that combination there.
He's a late first. He got it from me for dumbass Des Bryant.
Hey, so Naheem Hines would make sense there. So I would say don't go running back then if you've got that late pick. Again, a team that doesn't have a linebacker or a tight end. So we could see this might be. I overlooked this as a potential IDP landing spot, but we could get a linebacker here. Oh, never mind. He's got all his linebackers on taxi. I don't know why his best players are on taxi. So he's got Miles Jack and Jalen Smith on taxi, which would be his best linebackers. Pair that with Craig Robertson, who's decent for the price, is really good actually.
We can taxi steal now, right? Still?
Not until after we finish this, because essentially what will happen is people will just continually move people around. It's just a pain in the ass. I also have roster limits raised because I created players. So the cap currently is 43 instead of 39, so people could technically just promote a guy and not even use the taxi. And then I've got to manually police that, and it's too much work. I don't feel like doing that. So beyond 49ers, our last quarterback is Josh Allen. Is there? I mean, do we? Brian, you had pick 17, so you kind of have gone through to see what might be available at 17. Did you predict or mock Josh Allen to go anywhere?
To go anywhere? No. I mean, I kind of think about teams assessing players to the same level as I do. Hearing you think Josh Allen's really, really good was kind of surprising earlier today, but I kind of believe people think the same in very similar kind of standpoints. I mean, everyone kind of looks at rankings, everyone kind of looks at ADP, and they kind of just subconsciously make their own assessments, then they don't really vary too far off. So I kind of value Josh Allen a little bit later. Maybe the Raiders at 13, because all he has is Teddy Bridgewater and Chad Kelly. Could also see potentially the Bengals. He made the move last year to have 2 quarterbacks. He might see the value just like Matt did, and he might grab one at 14 or 23, probably more likely at 23. But yeah, those are the 2 that probably stand out to me. And maybe Eric at 128 if Josh Allen falls all the way down there.
I think Eric made his entrance and said that he was not picking fucking. I think his exact words are, "I'm not fucking picking Josh Allen." So
I know I said I was going to avoid him like the plague, but I mean, if I thought he would have fell to 17, I probably would have taken him and not
traded up,
moved up. But I think I even told you that like if he falls to 17, I'll be pissed.
Mm-hmm.
As much as as much as being a Jets fan, I don't want to say I value Jets players higher. I guess subconsciously, like if I'm stuck between 2 people that I value pretty evenly, if one's on the Jets, I'll bump him up. But I'm not picking people because they're on the Jets. But on the flip side, I will actively try to avoid players on the Patriots, Dolphins, and Bills. I mean, I'm not going to turn down value. Like if Tom Brady slides to the 4th round, I'll probably pick him up. In redrafts or Superflex, 2 QB leagues. I think I had Gronk for 1 year because he slipped to the 4th round a few years ago when he was going in the 1st. So, I mean, I'm not going to turn down value, but I just hate rooting for the division. So, like, when Allen went to the Bills, it was kind of like, damn it. Yes, but damn it. He'd be the QB to fall to me, but now I don't want to take him. But, hopefully he doesn't pan out. I wish him health, but that's about it.
Yeah, I think at 13 makes sense for the Raiders. I think they'd be, again, ecstatic to take him there. Cincinnati does make sense, likes to hoard the players there. Eventually, though, I think you have to break out of that because he does it in a lot of leagues, and I don't know if he has much to show for it. He doesn't have – there's not many teams that he has that win. They just all seem to be in that perpetual cycle of blah. Maybe avoiding that. And he seems to have because he did tag and choose to keep Todd Gurley, whereas if you had told me that last season that he was going to have the choice to tag Gurley and make him the highest paid or one of the highest paid running backs, I'd have thought for sure that he would have traded him to get what little value he could have out of him and taken some smaller no-name guys because he really does enjoy the Corey Grants and some of these other Alec Erickson. He really does enjoy finding those players. AJ Derby, those types of things. He just likes those guys. I don't know why. So I thought for sure he would have traded Todd Gurley and then taken a stab at some of these other guys in the dark.
Well, it might be something with the best ball type where, Gurley is going to consistently get you 15 points a game, but if you can trade him for 4 guys who will get you anywhere from 3 to 25 points a game, it might pay off.
Yeah.
Plus, Gurley his value wasn't shit, but it was probably the lowest it'll ever be at the beginning of last year.
Right, that's how he ended up with him. So after having last year, I thought after he had the amazing season, I thought for sure that he'd be okay. Here you go, come get him because that's kind of what he does. He goes out, gets bad players, underperforming players, undervalued players. Then when they're good, he sells them. But he didn't do that here, so I don't know.
Well, I don't know if he would have gotten the value that he wanted. I mean, he's trying to hold out for Deshaun Watson for forever, or one of his quarterbacks, I think, to make a big haul. But I don't think that ever really happened besides what he got from the Chiefs, right? Am I remembering that wrong?
Yeah, I don't think he got a huge haul. I mean, he got some interesting pieces, but not what you would have thought he could have gotten. And I think he moved the wrong quarterback. I can't remember. Let me look. Yeah, so he still has
I mean,
Trubisky.
also,
I had to move Trubisky, and so again,
Oh,
those that were listening early on, I said, Josh Allen is going to be this year's Trubisky. Probably gets the playing time right away, but isn't going to do anything particularly special. Isn't going to light it up. Isn't going to, be a stat sheet stuffer. Probably won't win games, but is going to be a viable, starter. I think he'll flash and show some really good things. And so, with that being the case, with him already having Trubisky, I could see Josh Allen going there too, and then he just, whatever one ends up being better. It would be his pick, or of the two that he keeps before he moves the other one.
I mean, as for trading away Gurley, he probably didn't get the value. This league is tough to value at because what are you going to value Gurley? I think in a couple leagues, CP was or Tyrell was trying to trade Gurley. He kept asking for 3 or 4 fourths or firsts, and I think a first is both simultaneously worth more and less in this league than in other leagues. A late first is going to be somewhere around, I guess, a second round value, you could say, but the early firsts are going to be extremely valuable because you get, such a small, I don't want to say shallow player pool, but just with the depths of these rounds, I think it's weird how to value these picks.
Mm-hmm.
So you trade for, is Gurley worth, the 30, 31, 32 pick, or is he worth, what is he worth?
Well, I mean, I think value, as you have loaded in points, but it's also contract. So, like the amount of cap
that's another thing to that.
Yeah, that's why I've always been kind of hesitant to buy up larger players or bigger name players because they usually have a big price tag to them that you have to try to fit into your jigsaw of a cap situation, and it's really difficult to do that. That's why I'm kind of surprised no one really makes you pay really hard to take on larger cap situations. So like these rookies are going to be, if they produce, are going to be a lot more lucrative for the next 3-4 years than Todd Gurley is, from the standpoint that he's got a price tag of $30 million and Geis and Barkley have a price tag of $5 million, and that's just a lot more.
Well, yeah, that's
easy to
that's
fit
why
in.
I skipped QBs during the startup, was because they were going for $30 million each, and I was thinking, okay, I'd rather skip on QBs, get one in the draft, because again, I thought I was going to be awful without a QB, and get one for 4 or 5 years at $5 million a year, $6 million a year, and spend that extra $20 million on other positions.
Yep.
I splurged in some positions because I figured, okay, let's get these guys who are going to be, but I think I overpaid on a couple people like Mike Williams. I think I overpaid on him by a lot now, but
a lot.
See, yeah, we'll see how it turns out. I did like him coming out. I think if he stays healthy, he can be a performer. But if I could do it over again, I definitely wouldn't have given him the contract I did. If anyone wants to trade for him, I'm listening to offers. I got a pretty decent haul in the Marvel League, but
yeah, and so that was the Marvel League is where I paid CP, the guy you referenced, for he wanted to sell Gurley for 3 to 4 first. I paid that eventually.
he get mad at me.
After how
down. Like so. Yeah,
I don't know how long it was, but it was just like, dude, he was just, then he was getting upset. And I was like, dude, there's 4 of them. Like, you need to go and sit down and count them. There's 4 firsts in there. And he went, oh, okay. And that was like, I posted the deal in the league chat. And so everybody was like, oh, yeah, there are. And then he went and accepted it because he didn't think anybody's going to pay it. But, like,
yeah, so
I have no
for
idea.
anyone who's not aware, in that league, I decided to go crazy. And my self-rule in that is only rookies for each year. So the startup last year, I drafted only rookies. This year, I didn't trade for anyone that wasn't a rookie. This year, it's a stupid rule, but I'm having fun. So he would constantly message me, hey, you have, because I had a bunch of firsts from trading back, you have all these firsts. Corey would definitely help you out. I'm like, okay, but he's not a rookie. Well, dude, you're stupid. You should totally trade. It's a great deal. I'm like, listen, I know it's a great deal, but I'm not doing this. So I don't think he likes me very much, but that's his own fault.
Yeah, so and that's for those of you that came from D96. We're talking about D's nuts. That's the owner we're talking about, kind of here making these trades. But yeah, I know he did the same thing with me. He was like arguing with me. He was like, "That's not 4," and I was like, "Yeah, it is." Like, I don't know what to tell you. I think I sent him like 3 at one point. I kept sending him 3. I would just change them around so it was a different 3, and then I finally sent him 4. He accepted it, and at that point, I mean, I did the same route as you. Except for I wasn't taking rookies. I just traded back. I think my first pick in the startup was Will Fuller. So whatever round you put Will Fuller, that was my first pick in the draft. And I've traded all the picks that I've got now. I've got Zeke and Gurley and Hyde and LaShawn McCoy. It took me a while. I was trying to think off
Words
names
are hard.
I've got Eifert. I've got Rudolph. I've got another tight end. I don't know. I just the only thing my tight end or my quarterbacks are a little weak there, but they bounce back, and if they score me any 15 points a game from them, I'm going to still score 150 points in a week. So I'm excited about that. But same approach. I think it works. I don't know how yours is going to work eventually. I guess eventually
we'll see.
It'll eventually work. I just don't know how long it'll take for it to work. And then you talked about
it's fun. It's to keep my league somewhat interesting. When I joined that one, I was at the point where I was in, at least in my opinion, so many leagues that it was kind of, I dropped a bunch, so now I'm not in as many, but it was like, all right, how can I want to join this league, but how can I make it different from the 8 or 9 other ones I'm in? I'm drafting the same players because I have the same value on them, and I always just happen to be the same position in the draft. So I figured, all right, let's make this a little interesting. Let's try a radically different idea and have some fun.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was you or if it was Brian, but someone previously was talking about the value of the picks and picks pertaining to players. And I think Eric's muted, but I don't know if he's still around. But I had offered Eric Leo Fournette for the 110, and he instantly declined it. So it's just one of those things where you talk about the price of the current pick and the price of the player. If that stuff wasn't there, then you probably easily accept Leo Fournette for 110. But with the setup of the league and the contracts and the years, it really gives it something to think about. So, but what I've done is I kind of targeted teams. I said earlier there are certain teams that I can trade with, certain teams I can't. And I think Detroit was a team that I couldn't trade with. The Bills I can trade with. There's some other teams I could trade with, simply because of how the numbers work out and what I'm trying to do. But it's interesting to see if we're going to have people that realize that difference. Like Eric, I wasn't sure if Eric was going to realize it or not realize it. He needs a running back. I figured maybe if he's hurt and he takes one, if he doesn't think that the guy he likes at 110 is going to be there. So I sent that offer over. I haven't gone past 110, so we'll see. I'm trying to target into a specific range, so we'll see. As the draft progresses, maybe I can move Leo and see if I can get what I'm trying to accomplish finished.
What is this cap at?
I don't know, 17 million,
18 mil,
18.
Yeah.
And he's clicking because he's like, Des Bryant's right around that price. I want to tap Des Bryant, send him for Leo. That's what he's doing. So I look forward for that one coming in the inbox. But there are a couple of things. I try to do the same thing with Sammy Watkins, just try to get into the draft with those guys. If I don't trade him, I'm going to be fine with it because it worked out for me last year. If I do, I think it'll give me a competitive advantage with any cap space I can get. One of the things that hasn't happened in this league yet, which is odd, because it happened in my the league that I based this one off of, was one of the things I like to do was for instance, Ryan Shazier, obviously not going to play. You can store him on IR and take some of the salary cap relief there. Was one of the things that I anticipated was we'd have more of that, and we haven't really had it. So Ryan Shazier is the first major example of that, I think. where we know that this dude's not going to play for a while, and so to see if teams hold on to him, see if someone trades for him, see if so he was one that I was seeing maybe he gets moved, and it'd be interesting to see if and for what price he gets moved at. But after kind of feeling out Cleveland on that one, his evaluation of Ryan Shazier, like his price tag on him, hasn't changed from him being healthy to him being injured. So that one probably won't happen. But I'm still waiting for that first major injury where someone gets like in training camp. I don't think we had anybody in training camp get hurt last year where there was a player that went on to IR for 10, 15, 20 million and cleared up all this space. I think it happened maybe later on in the season, but there wasn't anything where someone did that and then took on a shit ton of money back on the in terms of players and trading up. So I thought maybe
I
Cleveland
could have done that. I could have done that with Williams this past year, but like I said earlier, I was trying to kind of tank this year. I had cap room to spare anyway, so I didn't necessarily need the cap room. So I figured, let's keep him on the active roster and just see what happens. And then by the time I was winning, I was like, fuck, I'm winning. So maybe I should try to go for it. No, I'm still winning. Let's see. But it was definitely one of those where I was like, okay, I could move him to IR since he was hurt for half the year, or I could just keep him here because I think last year I still had $10 million, $12 million in cap space even with him on the roster. So I decided to keep him, and when he played, figured, hey, if I'm still winning, maybe he'll pop out week 10, week 11, type of thing, and go off and help me out. But I probably could have put him on the IR to save some space, but there was no point.
Hey, Lewis. The IR rule actually helped me a lot. I lost Spencer Ware and Julian Edelman before the season started, which completely fucked my team. But because Ware was on the IR, so he's only half his cap, and Hunt, after his monster start kind of slowing down, people were like, well, maybe Ware could steal a job back. I was able to get rid of Ware's stupid contract that I had. And I think part of it was due to, this year I don't need the full cap hit. And same thing with Edelman. I lost like $5 million of my cap or whatever that I could deal around, make other moves. I was able to trade McCown. I got Cooper Kupp in, which I thought was a good move for me long term, and Solomon Thomas, whoever. So the IR definitely helps, especially with preseason injuries, which no one can predict. As soon as that guy goes down, it's like, okay, I can still make moves, whether you're a competitor or whether you're a rebuilder, which I was really a rebuilder last year.
Yeah, I forgot about Edelman. But more in that, one of the strategies that would come up in the league that I based this off of was teams would go out, and so if multiple players got hurt, so if it was Edelman and it was where Shazier, those types of things, teams would go out and trade specifically for those three players, store them on IR, and then the following season have elite level players. But then they were able to finagle the cap because obviously you get a restructure at the end of the season and some other things. And so they were able to, in a situation where they would have had cap room to take on those players, to then do it. So if I had traded for Shazier, Edelman, and Ware, they're all elite, say, I wouldn't have had cap to do it otherwise, but I do because the IR gives me 50% of that. But
you still got to pay it the next year, so you're going to
right. But so at the end of that season, if I had Matt Ryan, who is at 30 million, if I renegotiate him, it can save 10 million, 15 million, and that's close enough to support the full cast of those players. Then you've basically got three elite guys on pretty good deals. And so that's one of the things I haven't seen yet.
The buy low, win later type of thing where, this guy got hurt. Let me trade you someone who's not hurt, but not as good so that, you're trying to win now. It's, I kind of did the opposite in the Premier League, which I did leave, but I had probably the all injury team there. I had David Johnson, Odell Beckham, Greg Olson, Allen Robinson. Basically, everyone that got hurt, I had on the team. So I just traded all those guys off for people who were playing to try and win, and that didn't work out. But it was like every single time a player got hurt, I was like, "Fuck, they're on my team."
Yeah, so that specific strategy is something we haven't seen here yet. Something that I think we will see, but just haven't seen it yet because of the numerous possibilities in strategy here. But I think once we get if there are a couple major guys, I think a team that has the cap space, a team that can afford to do that, isn't losing, can go ahead and try that out. So Eric's on the phone. I don't know who he's chatting to. It looks like it's a girl. I hope that goes well for him. Big smile, Eric. With that, Brian of the Falcons hopped off here.
Without even saying goodbye.
Yeah, nobody said goodbye, which is fine. They just kind of hopped out. But I'm hanging up here for today. I think this will be at 4 hours for me, and I'd like to go accomplish something else today. With it being Friday and all.
Doing things is overrated.
It is. But I can always jump back when we pick things up because I do feel like we aren't going to progress past 49ers. So maybe I'm probably not again tonight because I don't foresee him waking up for another 2.5, 3 hours, and that puts it about 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11. So maybe tomorrow we can pick up if it's something that people want. We'll see because we've had a good number of people hop on here. We've had a good number of people follow along, and I think if I send out an email and let other people know that it's there, we can probably get more people to follow along because I think this was productive. I think this is good. We had 8 picks today, and we had we had the Packers on here. They talked about their trade and their pick. The Falcons with their multiple trades and multiple picks. The Redskins with his trade and his pick. We had the Chargers with his pick in here. We had Eric hopefully trying to do his pick live, but of course 49ers is in front of him.
Shucks.
But I think we have an interesting spot tomorrow. I think day 2 we'll see the last of the top quarterbacks go, and I think it's going to go to 13 at the Raiders. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's where he's going to go.
As long as he gets picked before 17, just someone. I don't even care if you have to trade up to 16 to pick him, just for my sanity, please. But
we'll see. And we'll have the Colts on the clock twice at 112 and 115, which should be really good. That team, I think they're a playoff team, or close to a playoff team. I guess he wasn't. It looks like it's middle of the pack because his pick was the 15th, but his division might have sucked to where he got a chance to. Yeah, so the Titans were bad, the Texans were bad. So he might have had a shot at a playoff spot down the stretch there. We'll see possibly the Bengals twice. We'll get to see the Falcons again. We'll get new owners from Seattle on the clock, and of course the Raiders. And then we'll get to see what Lions does with 120. Yeah, we'll see if we can get to 122 tomorrow. We'll see what the Lions do. He traded back from the 107-ish, I think. So it'll be interesting. So I think maybe we'll pick up tomorrow if that's something everybody wants to do, and wrap it up tonight because Eric's still on the phone.
It's going good, bad. How's that conversation going, Eric?
So
you getting your date? Is she coming over?
She's coming over for free.
Is he not even on the phone? Is he just holding the phone up to him to make it seem like he's talking to someone?
No, I don't think he has volume on where he can hear us, so he just flashed his phone at us like we knew it.
Yeah, looks like
so maybe he does hear us. Maybe he can't hear us.
We love you
Anyways,
too.
it's probably his mother from the next room. He's ordering dessert.
More Hot Pockets.
The meatloaf. Anyways, so I think that's plenty for today. Like I said, it's been 4 hours for me. I'm gonna go play some Fortnite, go do some other things, accomplish some goals in life. And I've got a couple of leagues that I am sitting on the clock in because I've been too focused on doing this. So I enjoy it.
You've been that asshole.
Yes, I haven't been able. I just haven't been able to do it because I can't look. I can't focus on who's been taken. And there's been some great, like, I don't know if MFL does this on purpose or not, but their ADP is so messed up.
Well, right now I think it's set to alphabetical order or something.
And it's different. Well, it's different in every league that I've gone into. So in doubles, it's strictly alphabetical. In my WWE, it did really well until like the third round. Then it was just a mess. Then it just went out. It was set, and then it got to the third round, and then it changed and went alphabetically. And then my confidence, I don't know if it had any type of work, so I wasn't following along, but I just logged on, and it's a clusterfuck. And then I got on the doubles and looked, and your doubles isn't even, there's no, it's just, I think they're just players in alphabetical order. So I think they're all clusterfuck. So I'm going to try to log on and on the leagues that I'm on the clock.
Wait, all the drafts are probably just started this past weekend and this weekend. So probably they'll start to get a generated ADP up soon.
Yeah.
But we know.
So I'm going to look to take advantage
Game of
of
Thrones and on,
yes.
But none of this shit.
But I'm gonna look to take advantage of guys that slipped. So that's what I'm gonna do, and then I'm gonna get something to eat. But anyways, I appreciate the bunch of you that jumped in here and did this. Chargers, Falcons, Packers. I'm trying to think of who else was here. Bills is obviously on hold on the phone. Redskins. So I appreciate it. It was fun. It was something I don't think I've never done anything like this before. We went live for 3-4 hours to talk about a particular draft. I wish 49ers was awake where we could plow through this because again I think we would have had. I think we could have easily got 15.
I'm back.
15 to 18 picks done. And I noticed that the Raiders pre-draft disappeared, so maybe somebody he had down there isn't taking anymore. So, and same thing with Saints, so maybe they have to re-up their pre-draft. But Eric, I just want to say thanks because I'm going to wrap it up. It's been 4 some hours for me,
right.
And so I'm going to go get some things done, maybe play a little Fortnite, get something to eat, and then we'll see how things go. If we pick up and we get a couple things, we can do something tomorrow. Maybe we'll do something tomorrow. But I was just thanking everybody. I'm going to thank Jeremy for getting it set up for me. And we'll do it again because I have not done anything like this, and I really did enjoy this.
Don't forget to like, subscribe. Check out Blue Apron for all your Blue Apron needs. Blue best color, I guess. I don't know.
Who was on the phone?
Oh, yeah. Don't what hang in there.
Who was on the phone?
My friend Steve.
Oh.
He's been using my Barnes & Noble membership, but it ran out. So he called me. He's like, just to let you know, your Barnes & Noble membership ran out. I said, dang.
Gotta re-up that so you can get your books.
Oh, well,
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, you save like 10% every time you go if you sign up for the annual membership. But I wasn't going enough the past year because I'm just reading Game of Thrones, and they take so long that I wasn't spending enough money on books.
Yeah, I usually get a gift card for Christmas and spend that shit all in one go. Just buy 5 or 6 books and then save that for the year.
Interesting. All right, with that, I'm going to figure out how to turn this off.
He's trying to close and he can't, so he just leave it up.
It took him, like 2 or 3 minutes to realize it was on at the beginning?
Oh, did you see me? I couldn't figure out how to figure it out. Jeremy made it live for me. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, it was live, and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. How do I make this live? What do I do?
Yeah, because I was sitting here playing with it, and Jeremy made it live while I was, which I don't even know how that was possible. But
it started with the NFL theme, so I don't know if that was Jeremy or you, but someone put the theme song at the beginning. So.
Oh, I have no idea. So, anyways,
Oh, yeah, probably not you.
I found the hang up button, so I'm gonna hang it up. Yeah, that was, of course. I just sat. He probably hacked my computer. He asked for like some code, like I sent him some recovery password. He probably sat there at work and hacked my computer. All right. So thanks, guys. We will do this again, and happy drafting to everybody else.
Yeah.
How do you turn it off of live? Oh, here we go.